Our YouTube live simulcast of the AccuWeather Network. I'm meteorologist Geoff Cornish, and we were going to be checking in with Guy Pearson and others here involved with our coverage here at AccuWeather. Some in the field, others out into AccuWeather Severe Weather Center in Wichita, Kansas. And I wanted to give you a quick overview as to what's going on here with these severe storms in the Northeast. We're also going to be checking in on the situation along the Gulf Coast, as we are also tracking Tropical Storm Bertha. Bertha is a big storyline as well. You can see we are dealing with some flash flooding after recent tornado warnings have been at times being issued here in the New York Metro. We've had several rotating cells. At the moment, flash flooding is becoming our biggest concerns. You can see there are, there have been many alerts currently for tornado warnings in effect here on a national level here. And again, there have been many in various parts of the New York Metro. But the worst of it right now actually is into parts of Kentucky, northern Kentucky. Areas like Boone County to the north has seen some storms, but up into areas like Cynthiana and Harrison County, a tornado warning issued. Areas around Grant County and Pendleton County, a confirmed tornado recently moving through some of these areas as well. So again, a lot of different moving parts. We're going to be taking a look at the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Mid-Atlantic storms. We're also tracking tornado threats here into parts of southeast Ohio, Monroe County, moving across the Ohio River into Tyler County of West Virginia. And we're going to be jumping in on some more detailed radar analysis as well. We can give you the rotation couplets and so forth with some of those Ohio Valley storms as well. Philadelphia, we're dealing with some strong storms moving on in places like Chester County under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, and now a little bit of western Delaware County, northern Newcastle County of Delaware. The worst of the action right now is in southern parts of Lancaster County, PA, and looking at the local radar for these areas here, York and into Lancaster, far southeastern New York, areas around the area around southern Lancaster County facing some of the stronger storms in that part of the state. And then up into the Poconos, very close to and right over the area near the interchange of the blue of 476, the northeast extension of the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and I-80. Nasty storm in progress there, moving right through the heart of the Poconos. So we're facing some damaging wind potential there into Carbon and Monroe counties as well. So we're going to be taking a look at a lot of this, but we also have storm chasers in the field. We want to check out the perspective of what we're seeing from storm chaser Chris O'Neill. And Chris is joining us live from the Northeast in Corinth, Kentucky. He's actually in Kentucky, so he's up in north central Kentucky, and I've been through Corinth many times. He used to live in Georgetown, Kentucky, so he's up along I-75 in the area near Corinth. And there we are. Chris, can you hear me okay? What are you observing there?
Very rain at the moment. There was a tornado warned cell to my north in Corinth that just passed over the highway shortly. And the very poor right now. So I'm dropping down towards Lexington. But at the moment, there's some minor pooling on the highways here. Not quite meeting flash flood criteria yet, but I'm going to be monitoring high at the moment.
Okay, all right. And have you seen any vehicles dealing with trouble, or is it mainly just the hydroplane risk that you're facing right now?
Yeah, just minor hydroplane risk right now. Like I said, the precipitation has really just started to pick up, so it's getting to the point where motorists are slowing down, rightfully so, and it looks like a lot of people are exercising caution.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that report, and we're going to be checking back in with you, Chris. Nasty storms there, and the area still across north central Kentucky up into far northern Kentucky here facing some of these nasty storms, still moving into the bluegrass region. Jefferson County, Kentucky, home to Louisville. We have a new tornado warning just south of there. Into the area near Bullitt County, just so this is well south of the airport, south of Churchill Downs, and along Interstate 65. Now the actual couplet is out near Brandenburg, and it is moving right into far northern Hardin County right now. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. the risk is present there for a tornado. That's radar indicated rotation, but there was, again, that report of a tornado earlier to the north of the Cynthiana area up into an area of northern Kentucky where at least radar confirmed tornado activity has been presented on radar. And the Weather Service initially issued a confirmed tornado warning. The update there, south of Dry Ridge, north of Sadieville. I'm going to zoom in so you can see the Sadieville label, near Cherry Grove and Blanchett there along Interstate 75. We're looking at Grant County, north of Scott County, as you get back up into the hills a little bit away from the bluegrass region and the more forested area. That's where you're facing the update was confirmed. Now back to radar indicated, and a flash flood warning has just been issued as well there for a big chunk of Grant County and a little bit of far northern Owen County as well. We had flash flooding late last week up in the Cincinnati metro, so we're not far from that same area here with some of that. Taking a look farther east here, I'm going to declutter some of those reports and remove them. We want to go into New York City, and I want to show you what we're facing there. Look at that view, the bottom left there from New York City. A pretty ominous scene. And as we switch back to the high-res radar data out of Upton, New York, which is going to give us probably our best set of eyes on the northern suburbs of New York City, and now parts of Manhattan. Manhattan is under, looks like all of Manhattan, under that new flash flood warning, plus Brooklyn and other areas here, like much of Queens, under a new flash flood warning. We'll switch over to the 6-hour radar estimates. Bright colors there, not a good situation. Here we are with estimates, radar estimates of 5+ inches of rain. Dangerous flash flooding there. If we throttle this down to 1 hour, man, that's a lot of rain. I don't know if radar is running hot. I'm going to actually bring up another product here externally that you will not see, but I want to see some neighborhood rain gauges to see how radar is performing. Sometimes radar can run a little hot with the radar estimates, but I'm seeing, rain gauge reports, I do think radar may be running a little hot here. I'm seeing reports, though, north of Patterson, 2.5, 2.75 inches of rain, 2.43 near White Plains, pushing 3 inches in far southwest Connecticut near Wilton. So this is some really hefty rainfall. Perhaps radar estimates are running a little high with this. But again, regardless, flash flooding, and you throw in all the pavement there, that's a big problem. You can see our tally there. There are 30 flash flood warnings in effect right now, 30 flash flood warnings. You might say, what's the deal with the 6 flood warnings? Some of them are in Texas. That's river flooding. Flash flooding is the big concern here moving through the New York metro. So I suspect we're going to begin to get some pretty impressive footage from some of that. Some pretty impressive footage from the northern suburbs of New York and into the city as well. I'm just checking out the latest here. Into the control room, I sent a request to Kayla as well to swap out a radar site so we can bring Louisville in there. So that will be something that we'll be able to show you as well. A lot of different areas here facing a severe weather hazard. The actual cold front, I want you to keep in mind, I'm going to turn the lightning on, you'll notice this. The actual cold front is way up near the Great Lakes. So this is not necessarily the whole event here in New York City. There may be an atmospheric recharge later this evening, and you may see some additional thunderstorms later on, late tonight when the actual front arrives. You can see this action up near Buffalo and Niagara County and northern Erie County, flash flood warning for you. That's closer to the true front. Actually, technically, the front's still up to the north of Toronto. So this is the prefrontal trough causing a lot of trouble. Several tornado warnings in effect here. The current tally, 6 tornado warnings. Here we have Monongalia County of West Virginia there. The area near Morgantown, highly populated area here. We're into the home of West Virginia University, Morgantown, near the interchange there for I-79 and I think 68 that shoots off to the east there. Just west of there, west of Booth, there is a couplet there with an area of rotation that we need to keep a close eye on. I think I can show you that one. I'm going to bring up the Pittsburgh radar site, and here we can give you the rotation associated with this. So there it is. And again, the outbound versus the inbound. I'm going to make things look a little different here for a brief moment. I need to turn the telestrator on. Forgive the extra thing on the screen there. It's just a short term. We're on the fly here with our YouTube live simulcast, so we're not going to be going to commercial breaks. So some of the things that we would typically do in commercial breaks, I would be doing without you seeing it. But this is the couplet that I wanted to show you near Arnottsville. And this is the reason for this tornado warning. Red outbound, green inbound. This is all being viewed from the perspective of the Pittsburgh radar site from north to south. And the intensity of this, we're seeing 24 miles per hour in one direction, 56 in the other. So combined, it's an 80 mile per hour gate-to-gate contrast. I know people often say, well, in the mountains, we don't get tornadoes. We do. We really do sometimes. I think that some of that may be an artifact of visibility and people not seeing them as well. But we have some big concerns there. And I'm going to get rid of the lightning. We can take a look at this other couplet here from the perspective of the Pittsburgh radar site. And then perhaps we'll request another site here from Charleston, West Virginia. But the way things are going, a lot of the rotation has been favoring the Ohio Valley. So right over Sistersville, nasty couplet here. Area of rotation. So we are, I know this is a chaotic map here. This is along the Ohio River, moving from Monroe County, Ohio, crossing the Ohio River into Sistersville, West Virginia. And just so you can see the heading, it's moving almost directly east-southeast. So Pollard, Atwood, look out. You have a tornado threat moving in your direction. We're going to send the AccuWeather Network to a commercial break here, but stay with us on YouTube Live and stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're going to come right back after the break. All right, so we are now in a commercial break on the AccuWeather Network. I want to bring up your comments here. Thank you, Caleb, for that. And Caleb, I'm also going to make another high maintenance request. I'm just talking to one of our graphics meteorologists. Let's get rid of State College CXX and add RLX for Charleston, West Virginia. We pick our radar sites beforehand, and sometimes the area affected is just so widespread. So it's valuable to be able to show you the rainfall estimates in New York City. But we can't, given the trend, Binghamton turning a little quieter now, State College turning a little quieter, trying to add some radar sites into the Ohio Valley to replace areas that are not going to see the tornado threat in the short term. Also, I want to bring in a couple of graphics here. So forgive the blank map here while we're in a commercial break. The latest watches graphic, we're going to show this to our network viewers. And as that sits there, and you can check out the tornado watch for the Delaware Valley all the way up into upstate New York and the Hudson Valley as well. And then severe thunderstorm watches farther south. We've been spinning our wheels, a lot of activity today. So in full transparency, I didn't get to set a couple of the things that I intended to before we were jumping in live here.
I'm JT, and
and that's a commercial that's playing on our YouTube channel. I just loaded this. I want to be able to see your questions. All right, so here we are, and I appreciate that those of you who are tuned in here. I see we have some questions. Is there a confirmed tornado in New Jersey? Not at the moment. Not at the moment. You're seeing reports from Roxbury, New Jersey, that there was a tornado. Let's go back to the storm reports here. And I want to bring up the storm reports that are at least in the system. So yeah, here are the two tornado reports that have been filed from New Jersey. But at the moment, nothing is on the ground. These have lifted. So earlier at 2:10, Stanhope, New Jersey, train spotter witnessed a tornado touching down at I-80 and US 206. That's a busy place. That's a busy place. Any I-80 interchange in New Jersey is a busy place. Tree and debris on the road. That was back at 2:10. More recently in Troy Hills in Morris County, this was at 2:43. From the same complex of thunderstorms, video sent in of a tornado on the ground from a driving range there in Parsippany. And that was around 2:43. The video came in after that time, but the radar estimate kind of co-locating the video with the cell on radar when it was looped, it occurred at 2:43 p.m. So those are the two tornado reports that we're aware of from New Jersey. But just to be clear, no ongoing tornadoes are on the ground in New Jersey at the moment. In fact, there also was, I don't see a report for this yet, an unconfirmed report of somebody struck by lightning in southern Connecticut. I don't want to be too specific until the Weather Service pumps a report out, because this was actually reported via scanner traffic. And in the traditional world of journalism and media, and I'm more of a meteorologist than a journalist, obviously, but scanner traffic is usually something that is not taken as gospel. And I've been a volunteer firefighter for a long time. A lot of the time, the info coming into the 911 center is a little different from what actually is happening at the ground. So the Weather Service has not yet pumped out a report for that unconfirmed lightning injury report in Connecticut, but we'll keep an eye out for that. So flash flooding and damaging winds are going to be the main threats. I agree there. I think that's Jesse Farrell reporting that there, answering a question. Barn on fire due to lightning strike here in Rushford, New York, confirmed by the Weather Service. All right. Thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We were chatting with some of our friends on YouTube who have been dialed in, and I wanted to show you a couple of different things here. First off, we're aware of 2 tornadoes that have been reported earlier today in New Jersey. Stanhope, New Jersey, 2:10 p.m. in Morris County. Train spotter witnessed a tornado touchdown near I-80 at the 210 interchange, or 206 interchange, U.S. Route 206. That's a busy place there in Morris County. Then, that was at 2:10. Then about 33 minutes later in Troy Hills, another tornado was documented from the same complex of thunderstorms rolling east, essentially from the same cell. Video sent in of a tornado on the ground at a driving range in Parsippany, New Jersey, time estimated by radar. So that those are 2 of the more significant tornado reports that we have taken through Weather Service reports that have been confirmed through the Weather Service so far. A lot of flash flooding. In the moment, the biggest danger in the New York metro is dangerous flash flooding. Reports primarily coming in from Westchester County, New York 9A southbound at Payne Street, road closed due to flooding. And radar estimates 4 to 5 inches. A lot of the ground truth rain gauge reports 2 to 4. I see a 4.33 now in Greenwich, 4.33. So 4.33 inches of rain. That's Greenwich, Connecticut. 4.34 in Quarry Heights across the state line. So the area around White Plains there, and Westchester County, that stripe from White Plains to Westchester, man, that's a nasty, nasty zone of rainfall. And with these new reports coming in, perhaps the radar may not be overestimating the rain so much, as I'm seeing more reports. 2.88 inches of rain there in Forest Heights, Connecticut. So a lot of dangers here, but we want to take a look at radar and the big picture here with Guy Pearson, severe weather expert. Guy Pearson is going to join us now, and Guy joining us from our AccuWeather Severe Weather Center in Wichita, Kansas. Guy, this is a highly populated mess right now with the flooding, tornado threat, and then the Ohio Valley risk of tornadoes and damaging wind as well. What's on your mind right now? What are you most concerned about, Guy?
It seems like we've got sort of 2 areas. First off, the Ohio Valley, along that line of storms that's currently moving, southeast across far southern Ohio, getting ready to move into West Virginia, that line, and then, eastern Kentucky. That's certainly still producing. We've seen several reports of tornadoes and funnel clouds along that particular boundary. So, yeah, certainly the area that you're highlighting there, that boundary extending all the way back to Louisville, and then, places farther east with time, those are going to continue to be impacted by, damaging winds, as well as the chance of a tornado moving through the area in those areas. Beyond that, then the second area, of course, is sort of like what you're highlighting there with the high risk area. That we've got. That is certainly another area. We've already seen some storms, as you were just talking about there with some of the tornado reports, sort of on the north end of that high risk. I think there will be some additional storms that will develop back through that area, back to Baltimore, back to DC, include the Philadelphia area there, where we will have some, higher damaging wind potential, as well as still the chance of a tornado with the strongest storms.
All right, Guy. And right now, the flash flood concerns in the north side of New York City look pretty bad. My first glance at radar, looking at the 6-hour estimates, I'm going to bring up the Upton radar site. I was initially concerned that maybe they were running high. This is a radar estimate, and as I use the eyedropper tool, we see some big numbers, 5 inches. But, looking at some personal weather station reports, I do see some 4+ inch reports and a lot of 2 to 3. So I suspect radar may be running a little high, almost tropical rainfall. So the algorithm can struggle with various types of rain. What's your take on all this? I think a widespread 2 to 4, though.
Yeah, I think certainly a widespread 2 to 4, which, with some of the rainfall rates we've been seeing in that particular area coming down that quickly, that's going to lead to a lot of water runoff rather quickly, and potentially bring into those flash flood scenarios there. I know that area earlier today sort of got hit pretty good with, the stuff that was currently up by New London off to the northeast. It sort of sat across part of that area earlier today. So that the rain amounts overall are probably in decent shape. Yeah, that sort of moved and it sort of sat there, back across Bridgeport for quite a while earlier today. As we were talking with one of our other clients, they were asking when the rain was going to stop. So it is one of those that it sort of sat there for a while and it was coming down pretty good. So the rain amounts in there, but any of these individual storms, especially like that one that just went through part of New York City there, the rainfall rates, when you're talking more than an inch per hour, especially in urban areas, it's going to run off and pile up quickly, especially in those lower lying areas. So if you are out driving around or needing to venture out at some point today, you certainly want to be paying attention to that for some ponding of water there, as well as potentially covering, maybe larger chunks of roadway if they happen to get underneath a heavier band that picks up 1 to 2 inches within an hour.
Hey, Guy, you may know where I'm going with this. Pulling the map out, bringing up the visible satellite. The true cold front's way up to the north. We had a shield of rain in central PA, northern PA that moved through, and it really protected some areas from this first prefrontal trough. What's your take on potential for any redevelopment right ahead of the front in some of these areas that haven't seen much severe weather today?
Yeah, I know that trailing second cold front there, just looking at it from radar perspective, is trying to gather itself. And it's looking pretty good currently over Lake Erie. And now as it's moving southeast, as you were showing the visible satellite there, some of the areas, especially northwestern PA, are starting to clear out. And so, even into, western New York, central Pennsylvania, we're starting to see that clear out. So, instability layers we were also looking at in there are still pretty high. So it's got, that cold front as it moves across Lake Erie and moves into northeastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, western New York. Be on the lookout for those storms because it will have energy to work with, and could be producing some severe thunderstorms, maybe some large hail, damaging wind gusts would probably be the primary threats with those. But it still has enough instability there to work with as we get into the later afternoon and early evening hours here.
Okay. Well, good stuff, Guy. I appreciate your insight as always. And we'll keep a close eye on this. We'll look forward to checking back in with you in a little bit as well.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Guy. So I'm seeing a few questions here. People wondering about Rhode Island, for example. The risk for severe weather in Rhode Island is a bit lower. In fact, I'm going to go back briefly to our map, and we're intentional in actually not including the severe risk in Rhode Island. The hazards that you're going to face in Rhode Island will primarily be lightning and flash flooding, but it won't be as escalated as areas to the west. You have a pretty good batch of rain across, looks like almost every acre in Rhode Island, except for perhaps a few places down to the east. But again, soaking rain right now. You're going to have some more showers and some thunderstorms. There's some occasional lightning there, but the greater wind energy is going to be to the west of Rhode Island with this setup here. We do need to keep an eye on things, though. The risk is not zero for you, even though we're not highlighting it as high for Rhode Island. The risk is not zero. We got some severe weather, new severe thunderstorm warning issued for northeastern Nassau County, western Suffolk County, and also covering parts of the area of Fairfield County, Connecticut, and the Philadelphia area under a tornado watch. What are the concerns for that area besides the watch? I think flash flooding is going to be an escalating risk, as well as damaging wind. In fact, we'll talk about this here in just about 5 seconds as the AccuWeather Network rejoins us here for a couple of minutes. All right, you can see New York City at the bottom, D.C. South Central, or the bottom middle, and Philadelphia bottom right there. Taking some questions about Philadelphia, just talking to people on YouTube about the Rhode Island risk for flash flooding in Rhode Island, a little bit of lightning. Philadelphia, the risk is a little greater for you for some of these concerns, and there is a flash flood threat that will be escalating in the moment as severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for South Philly and areas from down into areas around Ballackinwood and really from City Line Avenue south and west down through parts of Delaware County and much of Chester County. I want to get to the high-res radar data out of Philadelphia here. Here we are, Mount Holly, New Jersey. And at this point, we're not seeing much rotation, but this is a more accurate view of the leading edge of that heavy rain right down through the blue route. This is 476 from Conshohocken down through areas down toward Chester to where it hits I-95. So the blue route's getting into it now. Heavy rain and wind picking up there, especially up near Radnor. You got to wait for it another minute or two south down into southern parts of Delaware County, down near Swarthmore. But again, this is going to be bringing some strong winds into Philadelphia. Severe thunderstorm warning issued for Fairmount Park and other areas down to the sports complex, the airport included in there as well. So I'm going to expect to see maybe a ground stop soon, if not already there at Philly International. We could bring that up. Let's see what the status is, according to our friends at the FAA. But we're going to see major trouble here at many airports. So what are we looking at here? Ground stops: Boston, BWI, DC, Newark, White Plains, Dulles, LaGuardia, Philadelphia, Teterboro, all under ground stops right now. Not a lot of flights coming in and out of the highly populated Northeast with these strong to severe storms. Nasty stuff in progress. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're going to stay commercial free on YouTube. All right, another area that we haven't hit hard has been Richmond, Virginia. Flash flooding and a severe thunderstorm threat in progress there. But I want to take us back into northern Kentucky here. And we haven't hit this too hard the past couple of moments because most of the tornado warnings up in northern Kentucky on the north side of Dry Ridge have those tornado warnings have been allowed to expire. We do still have a small-scale tornado warning, though, into an area just west of I-65. I'm going to switch over to the Louisville radar site, and I want to see, I need to rearrange the labels here. Thank you, Kayla, for all you're doing. So what did we do? We dropped Binghamton. I need to relabel things on my own end, just so I can keep myself straight when we're on live, especially the network. I know we're kind of behind the curtain here, but Binghamton is no longer what we are showing because the severe risk is not there right now. I type much better when I'm not talking at the same time. We need to do this again, LVX. Come on, man. Louisville, Kentucky. There we are. All right. So while we're here, and I'm going to do this with our network viewers as well in a moment. So when I look at this, to me, the rotation is now south of that polygon. Man, it's on the south side of it. So the area of rotation, it's generally in this spot here. I don't know if the Weather Service is going to decide to go for another warning. The couplet is slightly, there's a little bit of a separation here between the green and the red, which means to me that it's a little broader. The circulation is not very tight. It's a little broader, and we're not that far from the radar site. In fact, we're pretty darn close from to the radar site. 10 miles. So the fact that we're hitting this so low and the rotation is that broad, I'm actually a little more concerned about a new tornado forming down here. Look at this. This is a small scale, but man, north of Lebanon Junction, right along Interstate 65. This could be a greater threat for a tornado. There's no separation there between the inbound and the outbound. So I'd be concerned about a small risk of a tornado along Interstate 65 south of Belmont, technically outside of the warning. And this is southern Bullitt County. This is Interstate 65, about halfway between Shepherdsville and Elizabethtown. This is a new little couplet here that has, it's catching my eye. It's not officially under the warning. I don't want that warning is getting a little stale. We're only able to see a couple of frames. I do think there may have been a tornado on the north, within that tornado warning, but the area of rotation primarily is on the south side of that, but there's a new tight little couplet forming down near Interstate 65, about to cross the interstate there between Belmont and Lebanon Junction. New frame coming in, not as tight. It's a little broader, but that's an area that probably has as great of a tornado threat as the official warning to the north at the moment. So a small risk of a tornado between Lebanon Junction and Belmont. I think the most likely case, frankly, is that this is gusting out into a straight line wind event here, almost like a manufactured little cold front by that own storm. And again, sometimes you can get these little bookend vortices with strong winds in one direction, weaker wind in another. So this could be a little bookend vortex on the north side. But a strong gust of wind barreling through parts of west central Kentucky into Boston Kentucky at this point. East of I-65, this would be the Bluegrass Parkway, E-Town to Bardstown, that we're moving into there. Beginning to face some strong wind as well. So that's the threat there. We're going to jump back into a few of these other tornado threats here in just a moment as the network rejoins us. All right, thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're tracking small-scale tornado threats in parts of Kentucky, looking at what might be a bookend vortex, basically a strong gust of wind, straight-line winds here, running out ahead of what was once a tornado threat. There's still a tornado warning that may be on its last legs. Again, as we bring up the HD radar here for Louisville, that warning has been allowed to expire. I agree with that call there from the Weather Service, and I think what we're seeing now is straight line wind. But along with that, straight line winds, there is a new, they just issued on that small scale thing I just highlighted, that same little couplet. This is the little couplet that I was highlighting. Again, the earlier tornado warning to the north has expired. That area of rotation has been abandoned. But there's a new small scale couplet here. It was a little more impressive 1 or 2 frames ago, actually. We were highlighting this during the commercial break on YouTube. And I think what we're looking at is the risk for a bookend vortex. So we have, and I'm taking a liberty, it's not a true cold front. It's more of a push of straight line wind manufactured by a big storm complex. But if you have really strong wind here and not so strong wind on the north side, and then almost neutral wind to the north, relative to the storm motion is actually blowing in, you can get a little pinwheel to form on the north side. And that, I'm drawing it a little broader than it is, that's what the Weather Service is also issuing for a new tornado warning. Radar indicated southern Bullitt County and the northern parts of Nelson County. It'll include a little bit of the Bluegrass Parkway. It's crossing I-65 right now. So we were talking about this during the break as the developing threat, but I do agree the earlier tornado warning for a broader zone of rotation to the north has indeed been abandoned. This is the new threat just to the south of that bookend vortex. Smaller scale, but it is a hazard. I want to briefly take us up into the area around northern West Virginia, briefly looking at this other tornado warning. I want to acknowledge the flash flooding in New York City. Then we're going to go into the tropical mode here to the south. So the Pittsburgh radar site's going to briefly show us what this looks like. Doesn't look that impressive right now with that view, but when we switch over to the velocity, I see 2 areas of rotation. One of these is being warned. There it is. There's the first one. Tornado warning for Tyler County, West Virginia, into northern Doddridge County and southern Wetzel County, West Virginia. It's a zone here with some outbound versus inbound, perhaps 2 areas of rotation. King, Stringtown, and Dale, all facing some risk of a tornado. Straight line winds will also be accompanying the storm in other parts of the storm's anatomy. And then along the river, here we are, Washington County of Ohio, Pleasants County of West Virginia, along the Ohio River. That's Ohio into West Virginia, Gracie to Wade, Newport, another zone of rotation there. So that's another tornado warning that we are tracking right now. That has just been allowed to expire. Severe thunderstorm warning replacing it. So again, it was radar indicated. And then as we switch over to the quick look at the New York City metro and Philadelphia, South Philly, Delaware County, southern Chester County, severe thunderstorm warning for you. A new flash flood warning issued for much of Chester County, from Westchester southward. And then the eastern parts of New York City, Queens, into parts of Nassau County there, the stem of Long Island, and into northwestern parts of Suffolk County, plus Fairfield County, Connecticut. Severe thunderstorms, flash flooding. We've had 4+ inches of rain in the northern suburbs of New York City recently. So that's a big story there as well. The true front is up near Lake Erie. But let's go south because there's another story here. Look at this swirl. That's more than just a swirl. That is Tropical Storm Bertha. And tracking this right now. Low-level circulation, not that far from the coast. Deep convection displaced to the south because it's a lopsided storm. Storm chaser Aaron Rigsby joins us live now from St. Louis, Mississippi. And Aaron, this storm, it's a little disheveled, it's a little lopsided, but we are looking at what will become a landfalling tropical storm. So how are things going there with the flood preps?
Yeah, good evening, Jeff. Well, right here in Bay St. Louis, I've been kind of telling people that this is the most fair weather tropical storm I think I've ever chased for the reasons that you listed above with how lopsided the storm is. But the dangerous thing about these kind of systems, Jeff, and we've been seeing that across the Florida Panhandle, not just today, but really over the last couple of days, is a lot of silent issues. We've been dealing with really strong rip currents. We're going to be dealing with potential storm surge around here in the Bay St. Louis area. And this area is so fragile to a lot of that storm surge potential. And it really doesn't take a major storm to have major impacts around here. Now, for now, here in Bay St. Louis, everything is relatively calm and it's a relatively normal day here. But when those tides come in tomorrow, and when this system gets closer to shore before making landfall, it's going to make a big push of this water with all that onshore flow into these very vulnerable areas. And I'm expecting those conditions to quickly change when the sun comes up tomorrow and those tides come in, because we could be dealing with issues upwards of 4 feet of storm surge on top of the normal tides that come in here. Now, in the Florida Panhandle, as far as the rip tides go, the crews have been doing really a remarkable job about warning the public. They've been patrolling the beaches up and down the coast, making sure people don't get too deep into the water. Unfortunately, though, a couple of the people did not heed those warnings as they were issued, and they had to do several swiftwater rescues today from some of those folks that were pulled out by some of those rip currents that we've been talking about and really warning people out over the last several days, Geoff.
All right. Well, it's a beautiful sky behind you there, Aaron. The storm has strengthened a bit, but man, this shear has displaced the deep convection to the south. In fact, when I bring up just the infrared satellite loop, and so our heads are up here in boxes along with our satellite product, only looking at infrared, man, this is an unimpressive situation. But when we switch over to the visible, you can see that low-level swirl a bit better. I'm going to pull this map out here and go back to the visible satellite. So, Aaron, I know you've tracked some tenacious storms, but here, when we look at the visible, there is clearly the low-level swirl. This is why we're so confident that the storm is indeed centered where it is. When this storm moves farther west, what's your game plan? Are you anticipating staying in Bay St. Louis, or might you go into Louisiana for maybe Wednesday night, Thursday?
Well, there's really a chance of both here, Geoff. So I've pretty much been following this system from east to west as it progresses very slowly. And I want to say that, given the circumstances of how slow the storm system is moving, we're getting off a very, very lucky. This was any kind of developed hurricane, stronger, dealing with significant issues, around the area. So a lot of the folks can count their blessings as far as that goes. But, like we've been reiterating, that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods necessarily yet. There's still a little bit room for Bertha to strengthen. Now, what's going to be interesting, Geoff, and this is going to determine the rest of how far I keep up with this tropical system, is that if for whatever reason Bertha decides to slide a little bit further south, we're still expecting a landfall right around the New Orleans area or the southern tip of Louisiana. But if that track gets bobbled a little further south and it gets more time over the Gulf, that's going to allow some potential, if it stays away from the wind shear, for this system to redevelop and push a little bit closer to the Texas coast. That's something that, we're going to have to watch very closely. It's an unlikely scenario, but there's enough model data to support that kind of a situation. So a lot of the folks that are, along the western Louisiana coastline and into eastern Texas, just because we're expecting a tropical depression right now, by the time it gets there and significant weakening, doesn't necessarily mean that we're out of the woods yet. There's still potential that Bertha could slide a little bit further south than what we're originally anticipating, and the potential for redevelopment. So that's going to determine my next several days. As far as tomorrow goes, I'm going to be documenting the storm surge around here in the Bay St. Louis area. Kind of like how we were saying earlier, we could have 4 feet on top of those high tides that come through here. And we've seen in really, underwhelming systems before that leads to still some significant impacts with high water over roadways, vehicles that try and drive through those, which we reiterate so much to not drive through the high water and have seen them stall out, and wave action along with beach erosion. So, just because this isn't a higher named system, Geoff, I hope people don't write it off, especially with this busy time of year that they're at along the coastline with how many summertime vacationers are out and about on their vacation.
And, Aaron, one thing that has always impressed me in the Weather Service Mobile, Pensacola office does a nice job of communicating this. The biggest weather-related killer in the Florida Panhandle, it's not lightning, it's not tornadoes, it's not even hurricanes as people might expect. It's rip currents. Sometimes it's tangential to a hurricane or a tropical storm or even a tropical depression hundreds of miles away. So the rip current dangers, that's a beautiful sky there. I'm sure if I were on vacation in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, I'd be capitalizing on that, doing some fun stuff. Might be swimming, but be careful out there. You make some really good points there, Aaron. The rip current danger, a huge hazard, and this is really churning things up along the Gulf Coast. All right, Aaron. Thanks for that report there. We appreciate you, and we're going to be checking back in with you over the next few days as well. That's Aaron Rigsby. He puts a lot of miles on. He was out in the West Pacific for the recent super typhoon. He does some amazing stuff. So there's a great shot there of drone videography of some, looks like don't know if they're surfers or beach patrol or whatever. I don't want to speculate because I don't have any real information, but great shots there. But that's an active breeze, and you can see our updated landfall, 5 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon or evening in southeast Louisiana. A lot of far southeast Louisiana, right along the course of the Mississippi River. It gets kind of less populated, a lot of marshy areas that can't be built on, but there are a few little towns like Empire that are out there. If it moves back out over the northwestern Gulf, this could be a second landfall here, 8 a.m. Friday, somewhere near Galveston, as a tropical depression. All right, we have a lot of irons in the fire right now, and the biggest concerns in the urgent side are to the north. So I see, I don't want to abandon any of this here for too long. A confirmed tornado warning here into an area of northern West Virginia, Pleasants County, right over Newport. I want to see what our best radar bets are for this. It may be that we can look at this before the break here from Pittsburgh's perspective, and then we'll look at this again from the perspective of Charleston, West Virginia. But there's some strong rotation there, strong rotation in Newport. And I want to bring up another product here, bringing some storm reports up. I don't see any new reports plotted there, but stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're going to have more on this ongoing threat involving tornadoes and damaging wind and flash flooding in the Ohio Valley Northeast. All right, we just sent our AccuWeather Network to a break here and checking out some of your questions. The Myrtle Beach coast is fine. There will be some storms for you later in the week, but enjoy it. I was down at Hilton Head with my family the past last week. Love it. Hilton Head, highly recommended. We saw baby sea turtles hatch. Pretty amazing. We've been there many times. I've never seen that before. But the Carolina coast is in good shape now. A couple of downpours up into Adair County and the Outer Banks. We'll keep an eye out. But tomorrow, the severe threat does move into more of this area. While you ask, I just wanted to show you tomorrow's risk area, as I set a few other things up here. Flash flood warning there. One of you in Newburgh. The chance of a tornado in Newburgh, New York. We'll look at that here. But there's your risk area, and it's still north of Myrtle Beach tomorrow. The severe risk is primarily north of Myrtle Beach. Can you rule out a stray, isolated, severe storm in Myrtle Beach? No, that happens on a somewhat routine basis there with, with the sea breeze inducing some activity. But wondering about Newburgh, New York. Well, first off, to answer your question about Newburgh, and this is a populated place here. Beautiful area there along I-84 crossing the Hudson into the Taconics. The risk of a tornado is limited for you. The greatest severe threat comes in waves. There will be another risk that increases with some more storms pushing in, but you'll notice this next round of thunderstorms here that's still a county or two away, still out over parts of Pike County, Pennsylvania. Is that Pike or Monroe? Up to the north is Wayne. I think this is Pike. There's a storm right over I-84 in the eastern Poconos. That's going to be moving in your direction in about 2 hours or so. It could regain some intensity and become severe again. It's not severe now because a lot of this bit of the atmosphere has been worked over by that flash flooding and the rain earlier. So I think that your severe weather ceiling potential in Newburgh, it's coming down because of the rain you had earlier. It's not as warm or as humid, or as it's humid. Not as warm as it was earlier. So the instability, it's not as great as it was. And then behind that, keep in mind, the door doesn't shut for severe weather potential until a cold front swings through. And that's still way up in Canada, up near Toronto. So late tonight, there will be some more thunderstorms for some of you. And the risk is still present. I don't want to close the door on severe weather potential until that final front moves through. But I want to, while we're still in a break, we're going to come back from the AccuWeather Network break in a minute and a half. I want to make sure that all my radar tools are optimized, and we got rid of the State College radar and put in Charleston, West Virginia. So I want to make that change here so I can pull this up more easily, because we got some trouble there with severe weather. And that's what you're seeing here, the new radar data coming in from Charleston. I think that's going to be our best bet to the north. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me here. I'm also setting up something else that will give me a little more insight into some other things here. So many tools. There's no shortage of weather data these days. There's also no shortage of mice, mice when I do this, so it gets very confusing sometimes. Is a tornado coming to Connecticut? Probably not. I don't think there are any tornadoes specifically impacting the area of the New York or Connecticut area right now. We could see another thing spin up, but at the moment, there are no tornadoes on a trajectory to impact Connecticut. Stay tuned, though. The south side, near the Long Island Sound, we have some damaging storms, though. So just talking to some people wondering about some of the weather here. In parts of Connecticut, for example, the tornado threat pretty limited in Connecticut right now, but I'm most concerned about the area near the Long Island Sound because we do have severe thunderstorms moving through this area. They're not rotating, but as we switch over to the high-res radar data out of Upton, New York, gusty winds near Norwalk and to some extent pushing into Bridgeport are the main concern. But it really is favoring the area closer to the New York state line. Stamford to Norwalk, I think, is going to probably face the worst part of this storm. Bridgeport, you're on the edge of a warning. It's looking a little more tame up that way. I think the damaging wind potential is going to be right along the coast. Stamford to Norwalk, maybe to Little Danbury. And Bridgeport, we'll keep an eye on it for you. This may evolve and ramp back up. But again, the wind damage risk is probably a little greater to the south. You will see some strong thunderstorms here. I'd stay away from the windows. A lot of lightning there moving into Bridgeport. Severe thunderstorm warning officially in effect for you. The greater part of that's probably going to be a little farther down the coastline, a little southwest of you. But look out on the south side of the sound. Nasty, nasty storm moving through Oyster Bay in northern Nassau County, moving up into northwestern Suffolk County. I want to get some more city labels here. Northport, Comac, Asharoken. Look out next up, Stony Brook. You're going to get a warning out of this, a severe thunderstorm warning, just a matter of time here. Nasty, nasty squall line. And I'm noticing this Boeing line segment here, it's kind of orienting in such a way that this chunk of it is probably going to have the strongest winds. I also begin to see other little features. Is that beginning to rotate? I see a little curly Q. Let's check it out. What's it look like on velocity? I wouldn't be surprised if this was a waterspout producer near the over the western end of the Long Island Sound. Broad rotation. It's broad, but sometimes these waterspouts spin up more quickly and easily. So a little bit of concern there about waterspout potential. And by definition, if one forms and moves over land, it becomes a tornado. So look out there. Northwestern Suffolk County. Asharoken to Stony Brook. Stony Brook, you're going to get walloped by a gusty storm here. The Weather Service will likely be issuing a warning for you very soon. Port Jefferson, get ready for it. You're in a posture there of trouble. Old Field, some of these areas of coastline that jut out to the north into the water. Water it produces less friction than land, and these winds are nasty. I saw it many times when working in Erie, PA. Gusty storms coming in, they wallop the lakeshore, and here we are on the north side of the Long Island landmass and the south side of the Long Island Sound, where I would expect gusty, damaging wind. Any more boats that may not be well moored there could even be shoved a little bit there. So it's going to be nasty wind, potential for 60-plus mile-per-hour gusts in that area. All right, Philadelphia, severe thunderstorm warning for you. I want to bring you up the high-res radar data out of Mount Holly. The gustiest wind moving right into Center City very soon. The Vine Street Expressway out near 30th Street Station, right through your area right now. So look out for it there. Along the Schuylkill Expressway, almost in its entirety there, from Boathouse Road down, all the way down to where it hugs east, moving in toward the sports complex. That's where we're dealing with some gusty winds right now. It's not raining yet down into Point Breeze in the sports complex, but it's about to in a matter of seconds there, or minutes, and it may even begin there from west to east, from the airport eastward. Also, severe thunderstorm threat there into Wilmington, Delaware, Newcastle County, flash flood warning and a severe thunderstorm warning. Nasty storm right over Chester there and other areas nearby. Ridley Park and into Bridgeport. Look out, Belmar, New Jersey. You're going to be up next here. Some of you even have a flash flood warning before your first drop of rain in South Jersey because of the high confidence of what will be happening here. So hats off to the Weather Service there with their early warning, and our team here at AccuWeather issuing some separate warnings for our SkyGuard clients, separate from the Weather Service alerts. Those SkyGuard alerts here are so important to so many businesses that rely on our services. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here into Pittsburgh, south of Pittsburgh. A couple of tornado warnings. One of these was a confirmed tornado warning. The new update new polygon, you'll notice if you look closely, the new one here, it's actually a red one instead of a purple one. That is a sign that the Weather Service is saying no longer confirmed, at least based on any reports that they're getting. Maybe from spotters in the area and so forth. But we are certainly seeing some strong rotation here in a couple of areas. This is not warned, but it's a severe thunderstorm warning, but there is an area of rotation, Alliance to Brown. That's an area of strong rotation as well that could yield a tornado threat into Shinston, approaching I-79. Here's the Fairmont area and Bridgeport area. Southward down I-79 north of West Milford and Clarksburg. You have a small risk for a tornado on the north side. Not yet issued, not getting a tornado warning yet, but I'd be concerned about a tornado threat here approaching Shinston. So there's one tornado risk. Weather Service opting for the severe thunderstorm warning for that. Harrison County, West Virginia, north of Clarksburg at this point. Tornado threat north of Clarksburg. And then an ongoing tornado warning continues into areas near Pennsboro. Let's take a look at this from another perspective. We're going to spin things around, look at this from the opposite direction. Here we are with the Charleston, West Virginia perspective. And there's your couplet. Inbound, outbound, Pennsboro, West Virginia facing a tornado threat. And, from the south view, that couplet to the north is not as impressive. It's a little more impressive from the Pittsburgh radar site. Let's go back up into this area, far northeastern, Preston County, up into the mountains there, Preston County, West Virginia, near Cheat Lake, a little south of there. Tornado warning for you. Looking at this from the Pittsburgh radar perspective, I think. I just want to confirm that from Pittsburgh side. North to south, I'm not seeing as much rotation as we saw earlier. Certainly had strong rotation then at this point. Strong inbound, not seeing a whole lot of outbound wind. So still take shelter there in Preston County, Beach Run, south of Cheat Lake, Kingwood, Ruth Belt. But the area of rotation has been less organized here in the most recent scans. So less recent, earlier there was a tornado threat de-escalating there, but take shelter until that warning is expiring there in Preston County. Still officially a tornado warning in effect for you. All right, let's go west into parts of I-65 into Kentucky again, Litchfield, and also into western parts of Washington County. Tornado threats. We'll talk about this after the break. All right, we just went to a commercial break there. A little preview. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do power outages. Thank you. Thank you for that there, Mel. All right, 2 radar indicated warnings here. One in Nelson County, just south of Taylorsville, or of Bardstown, south of Bardstown. North of northern Marion County. So this is it's broad, but it's an area of relatively strong rotation here. So there may be a tornado here. It'd be favoring the south side of that warning. It'd be more likely near Gandertown. It's not terribly tight, but there is rotation there. And then also probably straight line winds with an embedded tornado threat. This might be gusting out. Still a tornado warning in effect here. It's beginning to take the shape of more of a wind threat soon. But take shelter there in Litchfield, Kentucky. Play it safe. I think you're going to see some nasty straight line winds, and there is a small risk of a tornado there as well. All right, now I'm going to begin to bring up the power outages here. Sorry, I took my eyeball off of the... Jesse, I missed some of your comments here. I'm sorry, I got into a little bit of a laser focus on other things here, so I took my eye off of our chat here on Slack. All right, power outages. Let's see. I want to see if how this will look. We could do it piecemeal, at least northeast and then north central. Waiting for the computer to respond. And let's see here. We're coming back in 5 seconds. All right. All right. Thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're tracking some power outages. We have 37,500 in Ohio, 12,500 in Michigan. Michigan, no severe weather expected for you later today, but there are some concerns farther south. Ohio, mainly in southern Ohio. Virginia, we're at 10,000. Let's go a little farther west into Kentucky. What's this look like? All right, not what I wanted to do. Let's see if Kentucky pops up on our southeastern one. I may have to manually do this here. All right, I think I will. 10,000. I'll clean this up here in a little bit during our next commercial break, but that's the idea. 10,000 addresses without power in Kentucky. So again, we're seeing an increasing number of outages, and a lot of these have been in southern Ohio. I'd expect to see the West Virginia number climb soon, and in Kentucky, at 10,000 plus addresses without power, primarily into the area along Interstate 65 and northward. I was promising that when we came back from break, we'd look at these two tornado threats. We got two warnings. The Litchfield one is still take shelter. I don't want to tell you to not do that, but I think this is becoming more of a straight line wind threat. It likely did produce, or perhaps may have produced a tornado a little earlier, but that couplet has certainly changed character. Now we're beginning to see more of a straight line wind signature push away. And I think this is beginning to transition to more straight line winds. With that said, there may still be a tornado. And again, if there is a tornado, again, perhaps it would be in this area near Litchfield. I think it's more straight line winds at this point. Heading farther east. Well, all right, with that said, there could be a tornado perhaps on the west side of what would be a bookend vortex. But I think mainly straight line winds with this cell. And as we go farther east, here we have a risk for a tornado kind of favoring the south side of the ongoing warning near Gandertown. So take shelter in Gandertown. Tornado warning in effect for you here, northern Marion County into western Washington County until 5:30. All right, we just went to a commercial break there on the AccuWeather network. Another tornado threat here in northern Kentucky. I'm going to make another request for another radar site here. I don't think I can avoid Wilmington, Ohio. What can we get rid of? Let's see. I'm thinking to myself here. Thanks for being with me here on the YouTube Live. I want Upton, I want New Jersey, Philly, Louisville, Charleston, Pittsburgh. I'm going to temporarily swap out Sterling, Virginia for Wilmington, Ohio. All right. All right, thank you guys for bearing with me here. LN might be the radar site for Wilmington, Ohio. Lexington, Kentucky, I haven't said a whole lot about you because the tornado risk has been limited for you. But there is a severe storm rolling through the south and west side. So down near Jessamine County, look out there in Nicholasville and areas near the south side, near the mall and most of Man o' War Boulevard and southward down through Tate's Creek Road. You're under that warning, but the worst of this really is into southern parts of the area of Woodford County, south of Versailles, and into Mercer County near Harrodsburg. And areas around the gorge here, the Kentucky River Gorge, as it zigzags through, what's that, Route 127, I think. Gusty winds will be an issue there, and down through Harrodsburg. Also, to the west, that tornado warning, we're still tracking through northern Marion County into parts of western Washington County. Straight line winds, perhaps a tornado threat there. Tornado warning still in effect there for Grayson County. But we'll look at this other area here near Vanceburg and east of Tollsboro in eastern Lewis County and into northern Greenup County. Tornado warning there. We'll have a better radar site soon for that area, but the Charleston option's pretty decent as well. And there you can see the couplet. It's moving through eastern Lewis County. This is from Charleston, West Virginia, so outbound versus inbound. The risk would be between Garrison, Tannery, and Rexton, and then moving into Greenup County there, western Greenup County. South of Portsmouth, you're going to be okay from the tornado threat, though you are facing a lot of damaging wind and lightning concerns there, mainly lightning and then some threat for wind as well. Looking at D.C., I haven't said a lot about D.C., mainly because you've missed out on the storm in the District of Columbia proper, but the western shore of the Chesapeake, east of Bowie, facing a severe storm with some nasty wind and some lightning potential there. And we're coming up on 5 o'clock Eastern, so we're going to be checking out the view from one of our storm chasers covering this severe weather event here very soon. Thanks for bearing with me again here, checking out other comments here. Somebody asked about the tornado risk in Richmond. We've been fortunate right now that you haven't seen much rotation, but you are facing a serious flash flood threat. And I know you had some heavy rain in Richmond, but you're going to get into another round of it. So flash flooding is certainly our biggest concern in Richmond right now. There's a little more wind shear to the north, so a little more rotation potential up to your north as opposed to in Richmond for now at least. All right, thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. There's the national view. Here we are at the top of the hour. We've got a lot to talk about. We're tracking Tropical Storm Bertha moving through the northern Gulf. It's a lopsided storm. When we look at the visible satellite loop, you can see the circulation. There's the center of circulation, the pinwheel. It's not too far to the north of a lot of lightning, but it's a very disheveled storm with the deepest convection, the heaviest rain offshore and to the south. Little bursts of gusty wind accompanying some short-lived rain squalls to the north, and we're going to see an increasing risk of trouble into New Orleans. Landfall likely tomorrow evening south of New Orleans. Flooding rain, especially south of the city, 4 to 8 inches expected there. That's the second biggest story right now. By far the bigger one is severe weather barreling through the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast, and even up into the Great Lakes area, the eastern Great Lakes. Some of you have been asking about Michigan. The limited risk for severe weather, it is very limited. A couple of gusty squalls of showers and maybe a few rumbles of thunder near and south of areas near the thumb of Michigan and other areas here near Bad Axe all the way down to Detroit. But the risk of severe weather is much greater to the east. To give you a bit of a reset before we get too specific, here is our map characterizing a 3 out of 4. We call this a high risk. 3 out of 4 on the AccuWeather 4-tiered severe threat index. We're looking at the area around Interstate 95, Baltimore, D.C., up to New York City, or at least west of there, Philadelphia. But we've also seen a lot of trouble in this area here within our moderate due to rotating thunderstorms. So yes, we are facing a significant risk of flash flooding, damaging winds. We've been tracking this Newark, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and D.C. Some of the worst of it in the D.C. metro right now. East temporarily on the west side of the Chesapeake. But as we look at this on radar here, some of our bigger concerns involve flash flooding. Strong wind may not be quite severe here into an area. I'm concerned, though, for those of you at Port Jefferson. I know you're not under a warning quite yet, but the high-res radar data for Upton, New York shows there's going to be some wind, even if it's not quite severe. The storm thankfully weakening a smidge as it moves into Stony Brook. But there's going to be some wind out there on the north side of the Long Island landmass and the south side of Long Island Sound. I want to see Weather Service not pumping out too many reports here on Long Island yet. I think it's a matter of time. We have had 2 tornadoes reported today in North Jersey. That's been getting some buzz. Troy Hills at 2:43. It was video confirming it near Parsippany at a driving range. And then earlier, about 33 minutes earlier in Stanhope, New Jersey, train spotter witnessed a tornado touching down at I-80 at the interchange with U.S. Route 206. That's a busy place there in North Jersey. That was hours ago. The tornado threat for you now, much lower. But as we take a look at the current radar view, I'm going to fill in the gaps, bring up the other radar sites. There is a severe thunderstorm moving through areas around Edison, New Jersey, and we can check this out from the perspective of the Mount Holly radar site in South Jersey, looking at a nasty storm moving into East Brunswick. So we're into Middlesex and Somerset counties of New Jersey. This warning also includes Monmouth County, the north side of Monmouth County. Not quite to Sandy Hook, but it's a matter of time before that storm makes more progress to the east. So let's go a little farther southwest, and storm chaser Chris O'Neill is joining us now from Owingsville, Kentucky. Let's get out there to Owingsville, Kentucky, and we are tracking a nasty round of storms out this way. So Chris, what are you witnessing out there? How's it going?
It's pretty good. I'm actually heading east right now from this area because the line quickly developed into very, very high precipitation. So wanting to give you all some visuals to see what's on the ground here, I'm heading east where there's a little bit more visibility, and the storms appear to be rotating a little bit more as well. So as of now, I'm just in front of this line of storms, and traffic is moving smoothly. But I'll tell you what, when the strong line of rain actually does hit, your visibility is down to maybe 100 feet max. So I would recommend to all the viewers watching that when it really starts coming down, when this line of storms hits, to exercise caution while on the roadway.
Certainly good advice. And man, we got to be awfully close to a warning being issued for Bourbon County, south side of Paris in Bourbon County, Kentucky. That storm is flaring up. The lightning count's increasing. You're in a good spot. This is the one that's going to clip northern Montgomery County, north of Mount Sterling. And you're in a good spot. Chris, I used to work out in Lexington for about 4 years, so I know this area pretty well. Chasing's not easy there. I know 64 gets you east-west pretty quick, but you're into some hilly terrain, huh?
Exactly. So that's part of my reasoning for heading east as well, because once you hit southeast Kentucky, you're just looking at a lot of forest. But yeah, I was watching this paracel, as you mentioned, starting to tighten up a little bit as well. I was very tempted. However, I'm kind of targeting the Grayson area right now, and I'll tell you what, that cell is really wrapping up.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's go to this Charleston radar site. I'm going to switch over to that and I'm going to get rid of the lightning. We can see your live feed below me, and then on the screen, maybe you can see this too, Chris. I'm not sure what your setup is, but we have radar front and center. Yes. Looking at the velocity data, still nasty rotation here. Crossing, it just exited east. It's still, I don't want to give anybody a sense of security there in eastern Lewis County, Kentucky. It's in the process of crossing from Lewis County to Greenup County, Kentucky. And this is just south of the river. So here's the Ohio River. There's Portsmouth, Ohio. Just to the north, we have Ohio. We have Kentucky to the south. This storm is in Kentucky real estate. And then down here, we got we have the Big Sandy River, and this is the corner of West Virginia, Huntington, the Thundering Herd there, home to Marshall University, off the map there. So that's just the perspective on far northeast Kentucky, a nasty storm rotating fiercely. There's a lot of trees there. I don't know if we're going to see anything on the correlation coefficient out of Charleston. Oh, I am seeing some stuff there. So we may be dealing with some debris being lofted here. I am seeing an increase in that. So thank you, Chris, for that report. We'll look forward to checking in with you again in a little bit. That's a good report. So we are beginning to see some debris lofted up into the atmosphere. We're hitting this from a bit of a distance, admittedly. What's the distance here? I'm going to bring up the velocity data just to measure. So it's 75 miles to the radar site there. I wonder what it would be from the Wilmington radar site. Let's see. I don't have Wilmington in yet, but I'm going to put that in during the next commercial break. I think that might be almost equidistant. There's Wilmington. I lost the label there. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. This is some of the stuff that we do off the air. So it's marginally closer to Wilmington. So I'm going to put that radar site in as well during this next break. Thank you, Kayla, for doing the legwork behind that. I'll just do the last part on my workstation here. But let's take a look at shelf cloud approaching Port Jefferson. Look at that. That is pretty fascinating. This is that storm we've been tracking here. Port Jefferson, zooming in. So this is the storm that's not quite severe, but it's close. It's close. And it's a photogenic shelf cloud. That's a good call. Thank you for the heads up on that. This is the storm we've been talking about here with this push of wind and how the land near Stony Brook juts out. Port Jefferson juts out. So it kind of puts that land into an area where you're going to get more wind because there's less friction over water. That's a nice shot there. That is a very nice shot. While we actually have that up, I'm going to make that quick swap here to put in the Wilmington radar site. Wilmington. We try to be a little more polished on the AccuWeather network when we are doing traditional coverage with commercial breaks, but when we're staying up live, commercial free, you get, we're a little more behind the curtain sometimes. Yeah, thanks for that, Kayla. It's a good call. All right. I want to see any of your comments here. Is there a risk for Fairfax County near DC? So this is, the now casting aspect of this is tough. And that's also the case in State College, PA, AccuWeather headquarters. We had some rain, and it rained for hours. DC, you've been avoiding the nasty storms. I don't see anything urgent in DC proper. I do see some urgent activity there in, Anne Arundel County, near Annapolis with a severe storm there. But the area upstream of DC, you're doing okay for now. I don't want to give you a false sense of security. There was a weather event a couple of months ago when a lot of the meteorology community gave up on things way too soon. The front was still to your west. Storms didn't pan out in the afternoon. People said, all right, well, the forecast was a blown forecast. And then there were hundreds and hundreds of reports of damaging wind in the late evening with some gusty storms. Until that front comes through, the door is open. And it may be that the worst of the storms in New York City were in the late afternoon. Flash flooding, the atmosphere's been worked over. You're going to get maybe another thunderstorm later on. But in D.C., where you haven't seen the high-end severe weather potential yet, as I turn the reports on, big gap in the reports. Big gap in the reports there. North, a lot of trouble near New York, a lot of trouble down near Richmond, but not in D.C. So the atmosphere is still reasonably unstable, and you've got some nasty storms out there in West Virginia. Some of them will be moving through the D.C. area, and this may be a case where we get walloped in the late evening in D.C. The risk is lower than it was, but it's not zero, and you are still at risk of severe storms until this large complex of storms moves through. The true cold front actually is all the way back up over the Great Lakes. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're going to have plenty more coming your way. We're also going to take you south. All right, Charleston, West Virginia. There is some stuff to be concerned about for you. I'm checking out FitDoodle says there was an EF2. I don't know. I'm going to check something out here in a little bit. I don't know what you're specifically talking about there with your comment, but it's possible there could have been a storm survey completed. I don't know. Maybe you're talking about something from several years ago. In fact, let me just get into, I subscribe to an RSS feed that sends me every storm survey, and storm survey info, weather service in Pittsburgh confirmed one from Saturday. They had several. They had 4 in western PA on Thursday in the Pittsburgh forecast area alone. I don't see any new confirmations from. I suspect the Weather Service will be doing a storm survey later today about the New Jersey. Well, they'll probably do the survey tomorrow regarding the New Jersey tornadoes. So no idea what the intensity of them was. Let's take a look at this new tornado warning. This is the storm we were just talking about. Near Paris, Kentucky, and we were saying this is ramping up, and there wasn't even a severe thunderstorm warning yet. Now there is a severe thunderstorm warning and also a tornado warning issued now for Mount Sterling and the area around Montgomery County, Kentucky. I don't know what our best bet's going to be. This is Jackson, Kentucky might be a good radar site for this. Can we afford to get it in? Let's see. But first off, this is the view from way to the north. That's not very helpful. I can see the couplet, but it's not very helpful. I'm going to show it to you from another perspective here, from the Louisville perspective, west to east. How's that look? Pretty far. I think we're going to have to check it out from Charleston, West Virginia. The next bet would be Jackson, Kentucky, which is technically the closest. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that in there. Let me see. What can we afford to lose? Maybe we can. I guess we'll get rid of Wilmington. Kayla, I'm being high maintenance. I'm going to hop on there. We'll put Jackson, Kentucky in. All right, let me check out your comments here. I appreciate you guys being patient here. Harrisburg, PA, you're looking good right now. That's a good spot to be. You may get a thunderstorm in Harrisburg late tonight when the front rolls in. the front's still to your northwest, but the prefrontal trough, which has been where most of the action has been, a lot of Oh, okay. Thank you. I see your report. You were referring to the EF2 from Saturday, and then it's been busy. This has been a busy pattern. We go through these cycles where the weather flares up, it gets very active, and then it de-escalates. And lately, it hasn't been the plains; it's been the Northeast with the severe weather risk. So, while they've had very quiet weather in the plains, it was hot last week and dry. We've been into it here in the Northeast, so it has been kind of an every couple days type setup here. All right, the network's going to rejoin us. All right, thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. Just checking out a few questions. Somebody asking about the Rydal area in Abington Township. I'm not sure if you're asking about Abington, PA. If you're asking about a different Abington, it may be one that I'm not familiar with, but Abington, PA, the severe risks to your south, you're looking good right now. It's raining. There is a lightning hazard, so I wouldn't go outside. But the worst of these Philadelphia area storms moving into western parts of New Jersey, South Jersey getting into it now. So Burlington County, Camden County, the worst of this through Haddon, now east into Belmar and to areas around Moorestown. Look out there in Green Tree and Mount Laurel. You're going to be next up with a damaging wind threat. And then farther south, into areas around Gloucester County and northern Salem County, New Jersey. Nasty storm there just moved through. It's still moving through Newcastle County of Delaware. So Wilmington in the throes of some drenching rain. This is not a fun time to be on Interstate 95 there. Not only are you paying tolls, but you're also getting heavy rain. Certainly some big slowdowns there from Wilmington to Newark there, home of the Blue Hens there, the University of Delaware Blue Hens. Nasty storms on both sides of the Chesapeake here. This is I think it's south of the bridge, but into areas, what's that, Tangier Island? I get these islands mixed up sometimes. But the area around Baldwin Acres, Kent Island Estates, that might be Kent Island, I'm not positive. This is Queen Anne's County of Maryland. Nasty storm in progress there with some severe weather potential and new warning issued into the eastern shore of Maryland as well. But I don't want to waste the man's time. He's busy on days like today for sure. Guy Pearson is joining us now from AccuWeather Severe Weather Center. He is AccuWeather Severe Weather expert, joining us now from Wichita, Kansas. And Guy, these storms are evolving. Still, the occasional tornado threat here ramping up in parts of Kentucky, West Virginia as well. What jumps out at you when you see these storms here? Two different regimes between southern New England and the Northeast, and then the Ohio Valley.
Yeah, so for the Ohio Valley here, the most recent couple tornado warnings that they issued, they're actually rotating pretty good there east of Lexington with that particular storm. That one's actually been looking really good here and is really tightened up. So if you're in the path of that particular storm, southwest of Moorhead there, you certainly want to be in your tornado shelter. But this particular line, today has certainly been the one that's had the more rotation, the more likely so far of actually producing, more consistent chances of tornadoes than maybe a little bit farther northeast. Although, we still had our one or two or a few storms earlier that were showing quite a bit of rotation up closer to the I-95 corridor. But certainly these storms down here, they're still meaning business. They're still damaging wind LSRs, as well as now having, some of them at times have been a little bit better rotation and certainly showing that they're capable of producing tornadoes. So.
Yeah, in full transparency, Guy, I don't yet have the Jackson radar site in, which is obviously the one of preference there for that Montgomery County, Kentucky cell. But we're gonna get that in a matter of moments. But here we have Charleston, and this is the storm up in Greenup County, up in far northeast Kentucky. And as you mentioned, there's still, pretty obvious strong outbound. It's tight. It's a tight couplet with the area near Bushart and York, kind of favoring the southern 2/3 of that tornado warning, with an area of rotation. This is heavily forested land up here, and it's hilly as you mentioned as well. And Guy, when we go to the Northeast, we're getting some questions about DC, and this is a tricky nowcast because we've seen some showers, we've seen some rain that has kind of slightly restabilized the environment. What would you expect late this evening from DC? Do you think we're going to see much traction from the storms to the west?
Yeah, I think just with the storm that's flared up there to the southeast of Washington, D.C. and moving into eastern Maryland there, that particular storm still shows me that the environment still has quite a bit of energy to work with. So I think as, you have, especially the influence of the main front push a little bit more on that line of western storms across West Virginia that we're seeing right now. I think as that moves east with time, there's still going to be the possibility there of damaging winds, and maybe an isolated tornado still with that as it moves east. I don't think it's going to knock it completely out. I think it has stabilized it maybe just a little bit, but I think it's still got plenty of energy to work with. And the additional forcing along with this boundary back here, I think will be enough. And there'll be enough energy for that to work with where it'll be able to continue on as it does move east.
Okay. All right. And
one other thing I was
go ahead.
taking a look at that may be a little bit off the radar, the line of storms moving towards Ashtabula, Ohio, and Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
That line coming in off of Lake Erie is actually looking pretty good. So maybe some wind gusts of 55 to 65 miles an hour. Looking at one of the radar tilts there, we were actually seeing about 60-mile-an-hour winds being measured pretty high up. Coming across the water there, the wind friction is not like you have across land. So it's
Right.
a little more easily able to mix that wind down to the surface than elsewhere. And so, we're expecting some gusty winds there right along the lakeshore front and into about, I think that's I-90 there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a very good call there, Guy. And this is the mosaic. So the actual rain is now reaching Presque Isle there in the city of Erie and Mill Creek Township. Nasty stuff. Gusty winds. I'm glad you pointed that out. So Ashtabula County, Northern Crawford County, and Erie County, PA, all under severe thunderstorm warnings, a severe thunderstorm warning for this gusty wind event tearing across. And the water's warm. So, I always think that like from midsummer into the early fall, the lake sustains storms, as opposed to maybe in May when you got that chilly water. We've been warm enough. That lake water has warmed up, and Lake Erie is by far, without doubt, the shallowest of the Great Lakes. It's like a puddle, and it warms up. It cools down fast, but it warms up fast as well. All right, Guy, good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, and as we take you back into the New York metro, we are facing a severe threat there into areas near Edison, New Jersey. Small scale, but gusty little storm. Highly populated areas. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. All right, I'm going to hop over to what should Fairmount, West Virginia expect? Fairmount, West Virginia, you are in the area of what? Is that Morgantown? I'm trying to remember. Is it Clarksburg, Fairmount? I think it is. I think it is. It's Bridgeport, Clarksburg. So Fairmount, it's up to the north, closer to Morgantown. Well, you asked what to expect. You're getting hit very, very hard right now, and this is probably the worst of the storm for you. The increasing threat that will follow the wind and the lightning, the damaging wind that you're facing right now. Let's bring up the Pittsburgh's a better bet for you. This is a nasty storm in Fairmount. And you're in the throes of it right now. Tremendous lightning, one of your bigger storms of the summer. What will gradually begin to happen is the wind will drop off, the lightning count will decrease, but the rain's going to continue. And I'm concerned about flash flooding for you. I'm very concerned about flash flooding for you here in the area around Fairmont, West Virginia, because it's going to rain for hours. And this is a dangerous flash flood setup here for northern West Virginia. Short-term wind and lightning. And the next 3 hours to 5 hours, the rest of this evening, there are going to be road closures. We're going to be dealing with big trouble here with flash flooding. We're beginning to see some of that to your west. Caldwell, Ohio, for example, road closed. Duncan Falls, that's wind. Heavy damage, numerous trees down. That's a pretty strongly phrased report. But I'm trying to indicate more road closures, and here we have street intersection flooded, several inches of water extending past 3 homes on North Street. But this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the flood problems here. And 6-hour precip estimates, 3-4 inches of rain coming to some of you. In Fairmont, you are in line for some disruptive and dangerous flash flooding. That's the main event here in the hours to come in Fairmont. All right, we are back here on the AccuWeather Network, just talking to people in northern West Virginia. I am increasingly concerned about flash flooding along the northern part of West Virginia, I-79. Damaging wind in progress for Fairmont and Clarksburg and Morgantown, well, maybe south of Morgantown now, at Bridgeport and Clarksburg, and then up into areas near Fairmont. But look at what's going on as I declutter the radar, just removing the lightning. You have heavy rain that's going to be moving through this area. And as we look at the rainfall amounts so far and the rain that is yet to come, so 6-hour estimates, you can see it's really coming down heavily. And so far, you're at over an inch near Fairmont, at least west of town. 3.9, 4.4. Those are the amounts that some of you to the west have seen. So that's what you can anticipate in the hours to come. You're going to see 2 to 4, 3 to 5 inches in localized areas here. That's a problem in northern West Virginia. Very concerned about that. Switching over to the radar here, we are dealing with a couple of tornado threats coming and going. Let's take a look at this new one south of Litchfield. And this is a tornado threat here that has kind of come and gone, cycling through periods of time with a tornado threat and then periods of time with more limited risks. But as we switch out to the velocity scan for now, this has tightened back up a little bit. Outbound versus inbound, the tornado would be over an area south of Litchfield, Kentucky, southern Grayson County, into western Hart County soon, clipping far northeastern Edmonson County. This is south of the Bluegrass Parkway, still west of I-65. So this is the Bluegrass Parkway. Here's 65. There's Elizabethtown. And here we have the Mammoth Cave National Park area. North of there, not too far from Horse Cave. Tornado threat on the north side of Cave Country. All right, we just sent the AccuWeather Network to a commercial break. I want to see if... right. I want to see if Jackson is in as a radar option for us. Not quite yet. All right. I want to give our viewers on YouTube a chance. Oh, thank you, Kayla. Sorry, I'm being pesty. Look at the chat, Mr. Cornball from Fit Doodles. All right. That's good. That's good. People asking about Bucyrus, Ohio. So, okay, Fit Doodles asking, why are tornadoes happening like this now? Isn't prime season earlier in June? It's pretty late in July for weather like this. All right, I'm going to bring up a product that has, I don't think this has been recently updated, but I want to show you something. It's going to be in the FE10s. I don't think it's been updated in the past few days. Maybe the 8s. Bear with me here just for a second. It's a good question. I want to be able to illustrate this well. And if I can't do it this way, I may do it another way. We have a lot of graphics in here. All right. All right. Tornado frequency. So it depends on where you are. I'm going to show you this to you in a minute here. Tornado frequency. In the early part of the year, like in February and March, tornadoes tend to hit areas near the Gulf Coast states hard. And then as we get into midsummer, tornado threats increase farther north. So they become more of an issue up into the Dakotas, Minnesota, the Great Lakes area. So this is still prime time, like late May, June into early July. That's still the time frame when we expect to see, I think, man, where is this? Tornado frequency. I want to show you the graphic. I might, this is the time of the year when the tornado threat tends to march farther north. And this is when Canada gets most of theirs. but we also face a lot of these during strong cold fronts in the Northeast as well. So it's not unusual for us to see tornado threats in the Northeast. We've been in a pattern with some pretty repetitive storms in the Northeast. We had some nasty ones on Saturday, and we're back into it again. But man, I want to bring up this graphic here, and we're in a break for about 40 more seconds. And I can always do this on the fly, but it's a really good chart. And it's going to show you that we still get many of them this time of the year. We're certainly coming off the peak, for sure. By date, by day, trying to see how to... Oh, here we are. Hey, I just found it. So this graphic here, we still, we're in that 5-month period still, March through July, where we do get a lot, but it comes down a bit, the tornado frequency. All right, I was just talking to one of our viewers here wondering, is it unusual to get tornadoes in July? And I know that the peak prime time for tornadoes is late March, April, and May. But by early June, we still see a lot. By early July, we're coming down. But you'll notice the beginning of July is basically on par in terms of the frequency with early April. People associate tornadoes in April. We tend to see more, maybe weaker tornadoes, sea breeze-induced tornadoes, tropical tornadoes sometimes in July, and then through August and September. But again, the frequency in mid-July aligns pretty close to that of early April or late March. It just happens that a lot of the higher-end tornadoes tend to be in April and May. And we tend to see fewer F3s or EF3s, EF4s into the summer months. But it's not unusual to get tornadoes of this frequency. We are a bit above average for the year, not off the charts, but a little bit above average for the year at this point. Here is our map showing the severe weather risk. Again, I want to see if we have any new updates to this. Thank you guys on YouTube for bearing with me there as I was trying to bring up that graphic to get back to one of our questions there. There is a new warning there into Connecticut. People are wondering about damaging wind and hail potential in Connecticut. Oh man, that's wild. One of you were mentioning that one of you said that your dad experienced a tornado Saturday in Hancock. There on a big truck, nasty stuff, and it pushed the truck to the side of the road. This is nasty stuff. Yesterday we had a truck blown over in Iowa due to severe weather. And okay, I want to get back over to the high-res radar view for a few spots in the Northeast. Then we're going to step west, and then we're going to take you down into the area around the Gulf Coast. So there are no severe thunderstorm warnings right now in Connecticut. So I'm not sure what that comment was. You are welcome, Fit Doodles, calling me Mr. Cornball. Glad to do that. All right. And as we take a look at the area around Tennessee, the area around Tolland and eastward through most of Connecticut, you're doing okay right now. There are no severe thunderstorm warnings there. Flash flooding is the concern down near Bridgeport. We're dealing with some strong winds out over the Sound, but the storms are not severe there right now. There is a strong storm that's moving into Staten Island. That's been severe earlier. Remains borderline severe there east of Edison. Let's switch over to the high-res radar data out of Mount Holly. And these storms are pretty nasty moving into South Jersey, Mount Holly and Medford. I see a little bit of a protrusion there with the radar. I just want to make sure there's not much rotation there. So a quick glance near Lumberton, not much rotation. So it's mainly straight line winds, but I just wanted to take a peek at that. Down near Deptford and down into Pittman and areas around eastern and northeastern parts of Newcastle County, Delaware, and into the Delaware Bay, the north side of the Delaware Bay where the river dumps out. Severe thunderstorms in progress there. We're doing great there in the northern suburbs of Philadelphia. That's very good news there for some of you who have not seen the severe weather. Your risk is lower. Erie, PA, look out. We've been watching this nasty storm. Harbor Creek Township facing a nasty storm. And downtown Erie, most of this going to be on the maybe east and northeast of Green Garden and northeast of Interstate 79. So it's Erie to Harbor Creek up into northeast there where we're facing the nastiest. But there's a new part of it coming in farther west. So look out on the west side of Erie and Fairview and places near Springfield Township, facing a nasty storm about to move in. So again, I know the worst of it so far has been east of Green Garden and east of 79 there in the city of Erie. It's about to get pretty lively, and gusty winds will be a concern for West Erie County. So our friends there at West Erie County Emergency Management there in Springfield Township, they're going to have their hands full fairly soon. All right, let's go farther south. We're going to be dealing with some nasty storms still for the next few hours. Flash flooding, an escalating problem in northern West Virginia. This tornado threat dropping a bit. It's decreasing a bit. But flash flooding, I'm very concerned about flash flooding. 2 to 4, 3 to 5 inches for many of you in that hilly terrain. It's not going to go well. Road closures are a sure bet in northern West Virginia this evening. Stay in if you can and get to high ground. Check on people who may live down near the river. We do have an ongoing tornado threat that's a more significant concern into an area farther to the east of Lexington, and I am able to bring you that Jackson radar site here, so just stick with me here for a quick second. I'm going to make this radar look different. Thank you, Kayla, for that. Switching Wilmington, Ohio out, Jackson, Kentucky in, and this is going to be our best bet here as these storms get into the hilly terrain. I want to look at this here. Mount Sterling in Montgomery County, Kentucky. There it is. Western Menifee County, areas near Frenchburg, the beautiful Red River Gorge area, about to get walloped by a rotating thunderstorm, and the risk is present for this to continue to rotate. Now, the area of rotation, we have a couple of quick frames here. The radar data is marginal, I admit, but you can clearly see the rotation here near side view. So the area of, this is I-64. North of Mount Sterling. The tornado threat is still barely north of Mount Sterling, but it's about to come on across the interstate. And again, the radar data may look a little yucky. What's going on? This is not yet Jackson. I didn't do it right. Hold on a second, guys. It's going to look better in a minute. Jackson, Kentucky. I forgot one little thing here that we usually do during commercial break. With site code and attribute. There we are. All right. Now we're going to give you a way better view of this. There it is. So the story is the same. The strong outbound wind here on the north side and marginally inbound wind on the south side or west side. Here is your tornado threat. And it's basically approaching Mount Sterling right now. It's moving into the I-64 interchanges, the Mount Sterling exits, basically where this tornado threat could be. And it may be, we're going to get just a couple of brief frames here. I want to see how this is moving. It's moving due, east-southeast, east-southeast. This may pass barely northeast of Mount Sterling. I don't want to give you any confidence in that, though, because I only have 2 frames to work with. So Mount Sterling, take shelter. Take shelter there in Mount Sterling. I think the greatest risk of a tornado is going to be on the north side of town, but take shelter even if you're south, even down near Levee. I only have 2 radar frames here to judge that by there with that Jackson radar site. Let's go farther west, and then we're going to go south. There is an area of broad rotation in northern Casey County, north of Liberty, Casey County, and then also into the area near Mammoth Cave National Park. And on the north side of that, we're going to bring up the Louisville radar site here. This is Hart County, north of Horse Cave, north of Mammoth Cave National Park. This is the worst couplet we've seen of the day so far. Big Windy and Macon. Tornado very likely there. Best place to be is going to be in Mammoth Cave, basically. You want to get underground if you can. But again, right over the heart of cave country here in Hart County, Kentucky, there is a tornado threat. Big Windy to Macon to Forestville. So Mammoth Cave proper is south of here, though it does interestingly extend around many counties north of there, hundreds of miles of cave. But overall, the tornado threat from the area near Hart County, north of the national park, Big Windy to Macon, and Cove Run. All right, I don't want to miss this. We got to get down to Bill Waddell joining us live now along the Gulf Coast, because there's another big story. Houma, Louisiana. You're going to get hit by a tropical storm 1 hour south of New Orleans. Bracing for, again, the impacts of Bertha. Tropical storm Bertha will be impacting these parishes south of New Orleans. So we want to head to Bill Waddell. Bill, how's it going out there, and how are people preparing?
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, we've been talking with people out here. Again, with the heat and the humidity, we've actually had a few non-Bertha-related summer thunderstorms rolled through. Some of the people we've been talking with down here tell us they're really not taking any steps to prepare. They're just keeping a close eye on the forecast for any updates. But as you can see here at the Civic Center, there are some people showing up with their trucks, filling up some sandbags. When you take a look at the video, people have been here with shovels. Some are also just filling up with their hands, getting these sandbags ready. And some of the people we talked with say it's all because of the impacts from what was Tropical Storm Arthur 4 weeks ago. Some people say they didn't take any steps to prepare. They kind of let their guard down, and then they woke up in the middle of the night to flooding and a lot of problems on some of the neighborhood streets. So people who have lived here along the Gulf Coast say they don't just say it's just a tropical storm, because sometimes those are the storms that cause the big headaches, especially if you're under one of those stubborn tropical rain bands. And we have another piece of video to look at. It wasn't just rain issues that Arthur caused last month. There's a line of blue tarps just a few miles from here. That's where a tornado was spun up by Arthur. You could actually see the roof of one home ripped right off. So here it is 4 weeks later after Tropical Storm Arthur, and there are some families in the area that still have tarps on their roofs. They're getting ready for more rain from this storm. There were 15 tornadoes in Louisiana and Mississippi that were linked to Arthur 4 weeks ago, Jeff. So thankfully, we know every single tropical threat is different with different hazards and risks. Bertha is expected to be a much different storm compared to Arthur. It's also coming in from a totally different direction. We're expecting less wind, less rain compared to Arthur 4 weeks ago. But again, some people telling us they were caught off guard down here in Homa by the impacts from Arthur 4 weeks ago. So they want to play it safe. They're filling up those sandbags, dealing with the heat and the humidity. Again, at least it's a tad bit on the cooler side today, Jeff. From yesterday when we were up in New Orleans, people were out with AccuWeather real field temperatures of 111 degrees in the heat and humidity, filling up those sandbags. Not quite that bad right now, again, but folks are just saying they want to be prepared and ready just in case. And they say even if they're not going to use them for Bertha, at least they'll have them in case they're dealing with any more storms this hurricane season.
All right, Bill, I appreciate that report. Interesting to hear people are doing nothing to prepare in some cases. You got to be prepared. And Bill, we're still up here.
Absolutely. Some of the,
Yeah, we're still up. We just sent the AccuWeather Network to a break there, but we're still up, and we have several hundred with us here on YouTube, which is nice. And Bill, I have the current stats of the storm. We're up to 60-mile-per-hour max sustained winds. I know it's lopsided, it's disheveled. It doesn't look impressive on radar because a lot of the heaviest rain's on the south side. But it's going to change character here, and we need to be ready for this, especially, as you mentioned, in the parishes south of New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, some people here, they live and work on the water, right? You got shrimpers. There's some levee repairs going on down the road. So folks are paying attention to this storm, especially for the folks who work out on the water. They may lose a day's worth of work. And it's interesting, Jeff. I was down here for Hurricane Ida back in 2021. I was up in New Orleans for the landfall and then came down here with all of the damage. And here it is several years later, and there are still families and small businesses trying to bounce back from Ida. Of course, that was the major storm. But when you see the blue tarps on roofs, you just think of the families. These storms are tough. Even though it may not be a major storm, may not make a lot of headlines, there's still going to be a lot of headaches from this one with the wind and the rain from Bertha, especially for folks still trying to clean up and make those house repairs from Arthur just a few weeks ago.
And you make a good point about the oil rigs. My mind is always blown when I bring up the oil rigs map. Because there's just so many of them, way more than most would expect. And they're basically from due south of Mobile Bay, and then tons of them west to a certain distance from the Texas coast. And this is going to barrel right through all those areas. Thousands and thousands of people work on these things. So that's a big impact there as well. All right,
absolutely.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Of course, the families back here at home, right? They're keeping a close eye on that forecast update, too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And here's our forecast. We're expecting this to make landfall around 5 p.m. Tomorrow. So we'll be tracking that closely here on the AccuWeather Network. And then, a lot of questions about land interaction. Will it be kind of dissipating because of land interaction, or if it hugs the coast far enough south, we might see this reemerge into the Gulf as still an intact tropical storm, possibly tropical depression. And we got to keep an eye on this here for Texas as well. So, Bill, thanks for that report, and happy birthday to you, my friend. Working on his birthday.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that.
All right, good stuff. for those of you joining us here on YouTube, our main, if there was one graphic I could show beyond the storm eye path for Bertha, it would be this. We're more concerned about the rainfall than the wind. And I think there were 1 or 2 reports of around 5 inches in Florida. They were limited, though, not widespread. But south of New Orleans, the parishes south of New Orleans, where we have the greatest risk of 4 or more inches. You're going to notice a razor-sharp cutoff, and I'm going to go back to radar because it's a very lopsided storm. The heaviest action is to the south, and these gusty squalls are to the north. I don't think you're going to see any F5 here. E4D. All right, I don't know. I don't think we're going to see an EF5 with this setup here. I know that there are a lot of concerns about the tornado threat, but I do want to take us back north, and I'm also trying to judge what you want to hear about. And I know we promoted this as more of a severe weather, primarily a severe weather YouTube live in our coverage here today. And the overwhelming majority of your comments are about the severe weather to the north, so I don't want to spend too much time too far to the south. Sizable severe thunderstorm warning issued there for much of South Jersey. The AccuWeather Network's just about to rejoin us here. So thanks for being with us. All right, we're back. We are back. Thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network, and we were just chatting with Bill a little bit into the commercial break. I'm going to mainly focus on the severe weather threat, but I want to show you one thing just briefly regarding Bertha that those of you who are watching exclusively on the network may have missed. Take a look at this. The oil rigs across the northern Gulf. This is going to be a high impact for the tens of thousands of people who work out there right in the path of Bertha. Look how many oil rigs there are. Pretty amazing. So that's going to be right in the line of fire here for Bertha before landfall. We do expect to see landfall then in southeast Louisiana, 5 p.m. Wednesday, and then we're going to see very, very heavy rain here across far southern Louisiana, 4 to 8 inches south of New Orleans. All right, let's get back to the storms to the north. Here we have numerous severe storms. I am seeing 2 tornado warnings right now. 2 of them, I think. I want to also take us back up to the northern side of this here. Flash flooding up into Niagara County and northern parts of Erie County, New York. Nasty storm moving in through northwest Pennsylvania in Erie County, northern Ashtabula County. Chautauqua County, New York now has a severe thunderstorm warning, mainly south of Westfield, down into Jamestown and other areas down near Peak & Peak Ski Resort and so forth. So look out. Anybody out there doing this fun summer things there at Peak & Peak, mountain biking, downhill, and all that wild stuff, the ropes course. Not good for severe storms. You're going to have some dangers. As we get into Philadelphia, severe storms south and east of the city in South Jersey right now. We're doing pretty well avoiding tornadoes and damaging wind in Philadelphia from here forward, but flash flooding, big concerns. Some of the low spots there in the city. The Schuylkill Expressway doesn't do well when it rains real hard. Here have been a couple of wind reports there. East Bradford Township and Chester County, downtree on 322, both directions between North Creek and Copeland School. Now it's over down 322 over the Commodore Barry Bridge, where Route 322 moves into New Jersey. That's where we have some big issues with some stronger storms right now. And meanwhile, the gusty winds, Maple Shade, trees, wires down, Mount Laurel, wires down. Quick glance at our power outages. How are we doing with power outages? So far, so good for most places in PA, under 10,000 in Delaware, under 10,000 in Maryland, West Virginia, Ohio, Michigan. We got some issues there with quick calculation. 75,000 addresses plus. It's over 150,000 people. 12,500 in Kentucky. Forgive the clumsy map there. But let's get back to radar. Let's get back to radar here. And the tornado threat has been a big concern. So one of you I saw on the chat wondering about Danville, Kentucky, and Boyle County. You have family there. They're doing okay. There is a flash flood warning in Anderson County. Where is Boyle? Boyle is, I'm jogging my memory. Danville. It's this. There it is. Boyle County. So you have a severe thunderstorm warning, and forgive me there. I was too far north. The flash flood threat is up into Anderson County. So Danville. I'm going to switch over. I think you're going to see that in Boyle County conditions are beginning to improve. except for from Danville east. Nasty storm with severe thunderstorm winds and some lightning. Have we seen reports of severe weather? I don't think they've been filed yet, but there probably will be a few reports of damaging wind. So eastern Boyle County and Danville, and then into areas around Garrard County, and Lancaster there, Garrard County, Kentucky. We're looking at a severe thunderstorm warning. Then into Madison County. You've had a heck of a summer there in Madison County with a couple of tornadoes and terrible flash flooding in recent years, but terrible flash flooding earlier, two weeks ago down near Berea and Richmond. So nasty storm moving through Richmond with gusty wind. Is there much rotation with this? Not enough that the Weather Service has issued a warning. It's a little broad right now, but the tornado threat that we do continue to track is farther north up into areas around Montgomery County. And this storm has indeed kind of jogged a little bit, barely northeast side of Mount Vernon in Montgomery County, Kentucky. Let's look at this from the Jackson radar perspective. So I suspect this is one of these storms where the rotation is going to be a little displaced from the heaviest rain. I think we're going to see the rotation. Not that obvious. What did it look like a few frames ago? All right. Well, the rotation is weakening, which is good news. Still some strong outbound wind up on the northeast side near the interstate. Almost no wind on the other side by default. Here's your area of rotation. It's the northeast side of Mount Sterling. If this trend continues, I don't think we'll see a continuation. We become a little more concerned about perhaps northern Estill County. A little bit of rotation up this way. Look out there. College Hill, that would be Madison County there. Northern Estill, there's your severe thunderstorm warning. Far southern Clark County, well south of Winchester. So kind of along the Kentucky River and south of there, moving into parts of northern Estill County. I'm sure this is something that our team here at AccuWeather is continuing to monitor. The risk of a tornado is not zero north of Irvine, Kentucky there in northern Estill County. So just be aware of that. And up into areas around Red River Gorge and places into Powell County, areas around Natural Bridge State Park. You're in a stormy area there with a couple of zones of rotation on your doorstep. Certainly a concern. All right, this has gone confirmed now. This has been the storm with the strongest rotation. Munfordville. Let's get back out to the Louisville radar site. We can look at this with some pretty good clarity. Fierce rotation here, crossing Interstate 65. Munfordville, take shelter in Munfordville. Take shelter in Munfordville. We have a very dangerous tornado threat moving through this area. And I'm going to bring up another product here. I want to get more reports as to what's going on at the ground. What's going on at ground level here. This is a very dangerous storm here. This is the strongest couplet of the day, without a doubt. And we're going to be sending you to a commercial break in just a few minutes. But again, Hart County, Kentucky, take shelter. This is north of Horse Cave, just northeast by about a county northeast of the area of Mammoth Cave National Park. Munfordville, Kentucky, along Interstate 65, south of the area of Elizabethtown by a good margin. Tornado threat in progress for you. Strong area of rotation. There is an obvious couplet. And we're going to have more on this here coming up here after the break. So stay with us. All right. And I'm bringing up, I don't want to miss anything here with the reports. I'm bringing up a different product. Confirmed large and dangerous, but radar confirmed. It is a particularly dangerous situation tornado warning here. That was just issued about 6 or 7 minutes ago, the newer update. And again, it's a PDS tornado warning based off of radar. So no indication of human eyes on it, but it would likely be rain wrapped. It would be rain wrapped. It would be rain wrapped, without a doubt. I'm going to switch over to the correlation coefficient, and we're going to loop this. All right, so this did produce a tornado, without a doubt. The tornado tracked from approximately Big Windy to Kessinger to Munfordville. And why, I'm going to share this with some of our viewers here in a minute. But this product here is the correlation coefficient. It tells us if the radar is seeing stuff all the same size and shape, raindrops, or maybe a mix, a little bit of a mix, hail and rain, or sometimes we could use it to look at the rain-snow line and some things like that. But in this case, when we see a very significant reduction in the correlation coefficient. Away from the reds, a coefficient of 1, you multiply 1 times something else, it doesn't change. It's all the same size and shape. If you have a low correlation coefficient, you get down into the greens and yellows, that's a sign that there was stuff in the atmosphere that was not just rain. Mix of rain and debris and trees. This is a very forested area here. Man, that's a bad signature there. So I'm gonna share this with our network viewers. They're gonna be back with us just for a quick break, out of their quick break. All right, everybody, we want to talk about a dangerous tornado threat here. This is a PDS tornado warning. It's a radar-indicated large and extremely dangerous tornado warning based on radar data. But you may say, how can a tornado be confirmed by radar data without human eyes? Well, here's the issue. We have a lot of rain. This is a rain-wrapped tornado that you will not see coming. If you're wondering where we are here, we're north of Horse Cave, Kentucky, along Interstate 65, way south of Louisville. One county east-northeast of, now east of Mammoth Cave National Park. I want to see the label, just so I can confirm that for you. There's Bowling Green. Where's the national park? It's close by. Come on, guys. All right. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there was Mammoth Cave. It's one county east of Mammoth Cave National Park. This area of rotation is very strong, and you can see that very strong outbound versus inbound signature. It has crossed Interstate 65. Possible tornado still on the ground near the south side of Munfordville and approaching Bunnell Crossing and through parts of Hart County. Why are we so confident this did produce a tornado? It's going to be because of the correlation coefficient. So I'm going to make this go back here just a moment and show you something. The correlation coefficient shows us if the radar is seeing stuff that's all the same size and shape or not. If it's in a magenta color, it's almost all rain. Look at this from a little bit ago near Big Windy. This was at 5:36. That was a mix of rain and debris. A very strong signal co-located with the rotation couplet. Still, this was debris lofted into the atmosphere, thousands of feet up. The debris is becoming a little more diffuse, distributed over a larger area. Rotation is still present, so take this tornado warning seriously. All right, so that was our network. Just went to break conversation there, but I wanted to loop them in. Man, we got 4 tornado warned cells right now between east central Kentucky, the southern part of the Bluegrass, Casey, and the Lincoln counties, soon to move into an area of northern Pulaski County, Hart, and a little bit of northern Barron County, northeast of east of the national park, and then west of Bowling Green into Butler County, Kentucky. Those are the biggest tornado threats. And there's another one here into Barber County, West Virginia. We're doing okay in New York City as long as everybody's getting along with the flooding. Big problems on the roads. We got some road closures. Not seeing a ton of reports here from the city proper, but that may be a matter of time. The Weather Service may be very busy at the moment with that. We did have 2 tornadoes touch down in North Jersey earlier. And let's see what's going on here in our YouTube live chat. Okay. So, music by Bearpack. Harrodsburg, Kentucky. I'm a fan. I think I've mentioned I used to work in Kentucky there, so I've been to Harrodsburg. Mercer County, right? I think it's Mercer County. Here we are in Harrodsburg. So you're doing okay in Harrodsburg regarding ongoing severe weather. The problem there for you is flash flooding. And in this case, the rain has been exiting Mercer County. The flash flood warning has been issued. But I don't see a whole lot of rain immediately upstream. There is some back building among the storms west of Elizabethtown, but that's a good distance away. So if you're wondering about family in Harrodsburg, if they're fine now, I think they're going to continue to be fine. If they live right in a floodplain, which is unfortunate for some, you don't want to live in a floodplain, they need to stay weather aware. And if you're curious, over 6 hours, this was probably not like a memorably bad event, but we've had 2 inches of rain in the past few hours. So that's enough to warrant flash flood warnings. Low water crossings filling up there from the southern Mercer into northern Boyle County and then into parts of northern Garrett County, there near and north of Lancaster. That's in Kentucky there, the western part of the Bluegrass region. All right, that's the latest there for that. Let's see here. Yes, so that correlation coefficient product I was showing you, when it gets into the yellow, not this product, but that more unusual looking correlation, the magenta map, that little blue and yellow embedded within the magenta for the correlation coefficient product, that little dot was a mix of debris and rain. New York tornado warning going to be issued. No, I don't think you're going to see a tornado warning in New York City for this one. I think you're done with the high-end severe threat in New York City. The tornado watch, let's see what condition that's in. I wouldn't be surprised if the Weather Service chopped that away for some. They haven't fully chopped it. They've chopped it out of some areas. The tornado threat is not over in New York City, but I'm going to bring up another product here. I want to show you. Let's see here. We're still on a break. I want to load the high-res rapid refresh. Where is it? For the Northeast here. And I think I'm going to bake this into our conversation when the network rejoins us here at 6 o'clock. I also want to see if forecasting is updated 8D. They have not, so we're still technically at a high risk there. The risk is coming down, though, frankly. All right. All right, thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're tracking a number of things. There's the view in Fairfield, New Jersey earlier today. Chris O'Neill live in far northeast Kentucky right now. I'm going to populate the labels onto our watches map. You'll notice the northern third or so of the tornado watch has been trimmed away from Binghamton, out of Scranton, out of Utica. That's good news for you. Not officially over yet in New York City. Let's look at what is to come. Then we're going to take you into Kentucky and parts of West Virginia where there are ongoing tornado threats. But as we take you into our, first off, a quick view of radar. I don't see anything overly threatening upstream moving into New York City. There is ongoing flash flooding. That's a problem. That's a big problem. I don't see anything majorly threatening, but keep in mind the front, the true cold front. It's still way up near Erie. Severe thunderstorm warnings issued for that. Chautauqua County, Crawford County, Southern Erie County, south of I-90 now. And get ready for one in western Warren County. I think you're going to get one there as well. Strong severe storm also right over Rochester and Monroe County, into Wayne County, northern parts of Ontario County, New York, under a severe thunderstorm warning as well. So there's still potential. Until the front reaches you, the door is not closed yet for tornado threats and severe thunderstorm threats. It's a lot lower than it was, though. It's a lot lower than it was because of the rain that has moved through Philadelphia and New York. Philadelphia, flash flood warning for you. High water, leave for extra time. If you got to get out and about, the Schuylkill Expressway, it's not going to be a happy place right now. I don't know if it's always a happy place, but that area, Vine Street Expressway, low-lying water areas there in Philadelphia. Some of these spots are prone to it. You deal with some issues, and there may be some flooding still continuing. Wilmington, here's Penrose, Delaware, and Newcastle County. Water rescues on North Market. Water up to the door of businesses with subjects stranded. Clay Creek out near Newark. Water rescues on Paper Mill and Creekview Road. Take these things seriously. People are fearful of tornadoes, and rightfully so. More Americans lose their lives in flash flooding in a typical year by 2 to 1 over tornadoes. Most of those flood deaths occur in vehicles. Many times there's an unnecessary risk that's taken. So make the wise choice. DuPont Highway, vehicles stuck in floodwaters there near the Newcastle County. It says 1 mile south of Newcastle County, Delaware. I think that might be maybe a reference to the airport. I think sometimes these things, they run out of characters. I think it's near the airport. That's my take on that. But it is certainly in Newcastle County for sure. Tornado warning right over Sea Isle City and Avalon. That's a problem. Let's take a look at this. It's places like Ocean City, not under the warning. Year-round population 8,000 jumps to 130,000 during the beach time, summertime. That's Ocean City. That's kind of, I don't know what the stats are for other places, but that is sort of represented in other areas as well. Huge increase in population. Lots of people, Avalon, Stone Harbor, and into the north side of Wildwood. Let's take a look at the reflectivity. Well, that's the reflectivity. Here's the velocity couplet. And there is a little bit of rotation. We're going to loop this. All right, so this has been a little bit of, I think we got, I think number one, I think we have a water spout out over the bay as well. So look out there near Cape May. We got a couple of these. So it looks to me like this is, I think, an obvious water spout about to make its way near Cape May itself, Cape May, New Jersey. And there's a similar feature that has brought either a water spout risk or a tornado threat to Stone Harbor. I want to make sure that I'm faithful to the proper radar interpretation here. So the outbound wind with this one, it'd be near the northeast side of that little warning. Avalon to Sea Isle City would be the area of weak cyclonic rotation, the way they tend to spin about 99% of tornadoes. But look at this. This is probably a water spout. I really do think we're going to be dealing with a tornadic water spout near Cape May, favoring the inland side of Cape May here. This would be near Cape May Point. So Cape May Lewis ferry traffic, Lewis, Delaware to Cape May. I don't know. It could be a wild ride for some. I don't know if they're operating right now, but I would not recommend. Would not recommend. Water spout likely near Cape May, New Jersey. All right, and then separate from that, again, an area of residual rotation that is impacting areas near Sea Isle City down to Townsend Inlet, Avalon, Stone Harbor, and the north side of Wildwood still officially under that tornado warning. That's to be running until 6:15. Flash flooding in Baltimore. How bad has it been? It's the north side. It's not the inner harbor. I want to switch over to the. Well, we'll just give you a quick and dirty. This is a quick and dirty 1.4 inches. But a lot of this is because of the pavement. Lots of urban street flooding problems there. And we want to go west. We have major flash flood concerns in the area of northern West Virginia, damaging straight line winds for much of north central West Virginia, Weston to Clarksburg, Philippi, areas north of Elkins up into the mountains. Elkins, get ready for it. It's going to be a wallop for you. And now we have a tornado. We have 4 tornado warnings. So let's go to storm chaser Chris O'Neill. He is joining us live near Grayson, Kentucky in this ongoing severe thunderstorm and flash flood threat. Chris, what are you experiencing there near Grayson, Kentucky?
Well, I did have some gusty winds a short time ago as the cell became more outflow dominant. I was originally headed up to this area because it was showing some very strong rotation. But as of now, motorists are just taking it easy, slowing down a bit. But the rain has gone from heavy to about moderate. I did not see any hail as I was in the core of this storm, which was great. But now I'll be assessing where to head next.
Okay. Well, Chris, obviously, I know you will be making your own decisions, but chasing territory is tough out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you got
my original target was Louisville and then head south. And I think had I done that, I would have been on a very prominent tornado from what
right.
radar is showing right now. And so licking the wounds a bit as a chaser right now. But
no, that's tough. That's all right.
But we'll assess to see what's going to happen next. I mean, I'm looking, at least where I'm at right now, more of a rain and flash flooding type of deal. But again, I'll assess if I'm going to be heading back southwest or east.
Okay. All right. Well, be safe out there, whatever you do. Thank you
so much.
All right, Chris, we're going to go about 6 counties southwest, west-southwest into Estill County, Irvin, Kentucky. We talked about Estill County earlier. The earlier couplet that I was mentioning that was not warned was to the north. That feature kind of came and went. Now a stronger zone of broad rotation has organized right over the area of west central Estill County near Irvin. And again, take shelter if you're in Irvin, Kentucky, with an ongoing tornado warning there. It's broad rotation. It's clipping also northeastern Jackson County into Lee County near Beattyville. Right down the Bluegrass, this is the Mountain Parkway, right down the Mountain Parkway. Take shelter in those areas. All right, let's go west. eastern Casey County and northern parts of Pulaski County. We got 2 tornado warnings. This is where the Weather Service in Louisville hands it off to the Weather Service in Jackson, Kentucky. That's why there are 2 warnings for 1 cell. Looking at this, I think Louisville is going to be our best bet. This one looks a little bit broad, but there are some areas. There is an area of obvious rotation. I was on a storm survey once as a news reporter when I was working in Lexington with the Weather Service there in Science Hill. I was a weekend meteorologist there and would go out for weather stories. And again, this area, I know it's mountainous and hilly. We had a horrible tornado in Pulaski County, 2 years ago, with a big tornado scar where lots of trees are down. There's a risk there now near Eubank, moving from the southern part of Casey County, far southern Lincoln County, and into Pulaski County, north of Somerset, decisively north of Somerset. For now, take shelter if you're from Somerset north, but if you're southwest of Somerset, I think you're going to be okay in the short term. The bigger threat is farther west, and that's where we've had a confirmed tornado. This one touched down earlier. It produced an obvious signature because of a significant dropout in correlation coefficient showing debris lofted into the atmosphere. This is something that we are sampling from the perspective of what radar do we have up? We have Louisville right now. And this one is bringing some strong rotation right over LeGrand. And again, Hart County moving into northern Metcalfe County, far northeastern Barron County, and then far western Greene County. Let's give you perspective. So this is the trying to remain. This is the Hal Rogers Parkway South. Let me double check that. I don't want to give you bad info. It's been several years. Hal Rogers Parkway. I think that's the one that runs across southern Kentucky. I think. Hold on a second. I just want to give you good info. That is the case. Hal Rogers Parkway, Somerset, and points east. So actually it has a different name farther west, but it's the same route. It's called the Cumberland Parkway farther west. So along the Cumberland Parkway, and it becomes the Hal Rogers to the east. To the north, we're facing, and again, this is I-65. This is the route you take from Louisville all the way down to Nashville. Bowling Green, approximately the area of Mammoth Cave National Park. This is Horse Cave. And as we look at the correlation coefficient, we go back in time. There was your tornado. I'm going to highlight it again. That was debris. This is a sign of debris. The radar was seeing rain and debris. That was back at 36 after 5:35, 5:36. Eastern time. We're still in the Eastern time zone, I think here. I think you got to be 1 county farther west. That would 5:35 Eastern, 4:34 Central. So I might be wrong on the time zone change. I think it's 1 county west. But then just east of Horse Cave, I think we had multiple touchdowns with this. I don't know if it was on the ground continuously. It may have jumped over 65, but we got another tornado touchdown there. And now there's still debris near LeGrand. It's becoming a little more diffuse. So this has been an intermittent tornado, certainly rain wrapped. You're not going to see it. You will not see it. The area of rotation continues to move through this area, east of Horse Cave, east of I-65, and north of the Cumberland Parkway. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. All right, so that's the biggest show in town, unfortunately, this area facing likely multiple tornado touchdowns. What am I missing? I just don't want to miss anything here. I'm going to see. I don't see any new storm surveys coming in. Thank you, Jesse. New tornado warning for the Cape. We were on top of this, Jesse. This is a water spout. They issued a new tornado warning because of that water spout, and I think this is a slam dunk of a water spout making landfall as a tornado. Let's see what it looks like. We talked about this 8 or 10 minutes ago, and here it is. It's still a rotating water spout. So here it comes, and I think that we're dealing with a tornado. It's a landfalling water spout coming into Cape May Point proper. Cape May Point, tornado threat escalating. It is a water spout likely turning into a tornado just by definition as it moves in. If you're in Cape May, take shelter. Any part of Cape May, take shelter, even up to Cape May Courthouse, as you've had a tornado warning earlier. But down Cape May beaches, most of the Atlantic-facing beaches, you may be a half mile or a mile east of there. That's no room for comfort. Take shelter in Wildwood Crest. All of southern Cape May County under a tornado warning here as this rotating water spout that we've been tracking for 10 minutes or so, we tracked 10 minutes ago, is now warranting the Weather Service to issue a tornado warning as this moves on in here And we wanted to give you a little more lead time than that warning. But there it is. Again, a lot of danger here with a tornadic waterspout making landfall. Do we know if it's been confirmed as a waterspout? I want to read the language that the Weather Service is using. There was a waterspout report. All right. So what was it here? There was this is a touchscreen I'm using. There was, it doesn't like it. Waterspout 5 miles northwest of Lewis, Delaware, back at 40 after the hour. So that's back at 5:40 p.m. Photos of a waterspout on the Delaware Bay off the coast of Broadkill Beach. So let's see. I wonder, while we're in a break here, I want to see if I can turn the waterspout. Can we do it? Yeah, we could do that. Let's see. All right. I don't like when the radar does this. They get plotted a little bit three-dimensionally weird. But this is the approximate location of the waterspout. It actually was just a little offshore. But there it is. Waterspout off the coast of Broadkill Beach. I'm going to turn that off. And let's see if it was, I don't know if it was continuous or not. It was. I mean, this is the same, this really is the same cell that has been cohesively rotating across the whole length of the bay, or the whole mouth of the bay, basically running the route that the Lewis Cape May ferry runs, maybe a mile or two west of there, but not by much. So this is something to see. And I have reports on Slack that meteorologist Matt Benz at AccuWeather witnessed a waterspout off of the Ocean City, New Jersey coastline last week, which is a bucket list item in my book. But this is one they want to take shelter with because it would become a tornado as it moves over land. And again, a very predictable tornado threat in the southern end of Cape May with a tornadic waterspout moving into the south side of Cape May. All right. Stay with us here. The network is about to rejoin us. We are back on the AccuWeather Network. We've been up the whole time on YouTube, and I've been talking to our YouTube friends because remember about 10, 12 minutes ago, we talked about what was likely a tornadic waterspout over the Delaware Bay. You remember we talked about that being a pretty likely waterspout? Well, guess what? There is still, not only do we now have reports of a confirmed waterspout from earlier, that was seen off the coast of Delaware, photos of a waterspout by the coast off of Broadkill Beach at 5:40. But now, that same couplet, that same area of rotation in that thunderstorm, basically running the route very similar to what the Cape May Lewis ferry runs, is now reaching Cape May, New Jersey. And this likely waterspout has now gotten itself its own tornado warning from the Weather Service as well. So we were talking about this here, and you know, I think it was about 6:01 when I was pointing this out. Pretty obvious waterspout there. And look at this; it's still, at the time no warning was issued. We talked about the risk for a waterspout, and now it does have its own warning. Weather Service in Mount Holly, New Jersey, issuing it, and this risk here is beginning to move north. So it's kind of hovering, perhaps hedging on the bay side of Cape May, but this is a tiny bit of land here. We are zoomed in tight, and I don't want to give anybody the false sense of security. If you're even at the beach, if you're up in Wildwood, take shelter. You don't have basements. Your houses are on stilts because of flood risk. Get into the lowest floor on the first floor of your home and take shelter. If you really, really, really want to be uber safe, and there's you have access to that storage closet under the beach house, maybe there's a water heater in there, that's the safest place to be. That is the safest place to be in this case there in Cape May. But you know, if you got kids and you don't want to go, you got to go outside to come back in because of the steps and the way the beach houses are designed there. The first floor bathroom away from windows is going to be your better bet. If you're renting the second floor, which is really your third floor, get into the basement there if you can, down into that storage room downstairs, or just get into the bathroom, and I think you're going to be in an okay spot in general. Most likely, a tornadic waterspout like this, unlikely to produce EF2 or EF3 damage, could bring an EF0 or EF1 in to parts of southern Cape May, New Jersey. Let's go to AccuWeather severe weather expert Guy Pearson now. Guy, interesting scenario here with a waterspout that appears to have run the whole length of the Delaware Bay there, at least near the mouth, as it was spotted near Lewis. Consistent rotation across the bay and now into Cape May. But, Guy, unfortunately, unless there's anything you wanted to add about that one, we got our hands full in Kentucky.
Yeah, we certainly do. Now you had that one covered pretty well, so I think we're all good there. So
okay, well, why don't we head west then? And Guy, the correlation coefficient dropout a bit ago was kind of scary looking on both sides of I-65, especially northwest of I-65 here, with that cell that is now moving through Hart County, Kentucky.
yeah, I mean it certainly was rotating pretty good. We did have that. CC drop that you talked about there. So it's one of those that, that's lofting debris up into the air. And one of the signatures that we're looking for, certainly very tight rotation in there. Still rotating very well now. So certainly if you're in the path of this storm, you need to be in shelter and, staying away from windows and staying towards the interior of your house.
And just for perspective, I know that we get wild with maps, and Guy, you and I spend our lives looking at maps, but I think just for viewers' sake, I just wanted to highlight, here's Bowling Green, Mammoth Cave National Park, Elizabethtown, Louisville will be off the map to the north, Lexington's way up to the north there. So we're kind of in south central Kentucky there, maybe borderline west central Kentucky, as people locally call it. But we have 4 separate tornado threats all lined up here, and it's interesting that the atmosphere has a certain rhythm sometimes. There's like this comfortable distance that we often see supercells have between one another. Are there any others that you're especially concerned about? Do you want me to go east to Pulaski County near Somerset? What do you think?
Yeah, we can take a quick look at Somerset there, but any of these ones, they're separated like you were talking about. They're separated enough that they're sort of in their own environment to some degree. And so they're able to, rotate at times and sort of cycle through and start to rotate some more again. And, this is sort of one of them right now that, back closer to Eubank earlier, it had some pretty tight rotation. Since then, as you're talking about there with the arrows, Science Hill, you still have some generic, or not generic, but some broader rotation there just north of Somerset. But it's one of those that, you'll have some winds, it'll sort of gust out a little bit, and then it'll sort of redefine and redevelop on the front edge again. So it's certainly something that you want to keep an eye on anywhere along this line of storms through Kentucky. And as it even moves into northern Tennessee over the next 1 to 2 hours, you want to keep an eye on stuff. The one here too, it's also got, had some more decent rotation earlier. I think it's weakened a little bit. And, where the radar location is in comparison, it's a little bit moving parallel with the radar. So we're not seeing, I don't think, probably the best rotation with that. So,
yeah.
But each one of the storms in through here is one of those things that we want to have everybody keep a close eye on as they approach your area.
You can sometimes even see kind of the echo of the rotation with the reflectivity, almost a little pinwheel type character here. Even though I agree the velocity data doesn't look all that threatening at the moment, but still, and we always recommend people take shelter, obviously, in cases like these. And then also to the west here, heading way west of Bowling Green, this cell, looking at this from the Louisville perspective, which I don't know if Hopkinsville would be a better shot, but Guy, you can still see.
I mean, it's still got it highlighted pretty well. And maybe even if you're looking up a little bit higher in the storm, you still have really nice rotational loft. Yeah. And so it's one of those that, it's been rotating pretty well for a while. And it's one of those that you certainly want to pay attention to and sort of keep an eye on the reflectivity as it was popped up there earlier. Certainly look like it's one of those, it's the rotation's in the right spot for something to potentially form. So,
all right. Thanks so much, Guy. We appreciate your insight as always.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. We just also sent the AccuWeather Network to a break. Look at that video there, a tornado in Owen County, Kentucky earlier today. That's a very photogenic one. Owen County, that's home to, jogging my memory, I think that might be, that's Bath County. Owen, Grant, and Pendleton. So that's up this way. That was up in northern Kentucky. This is Owen County here. This is Owen. This is Grant. This is Pendleton and Bracken, and then Mason. So yeah, that's where yeah, feel free. That's great, Knobs. So that was southeast of the Kentucky Motor Speedway, north of Frankfort, and way, way, way south of like Cincinnati. Oh man, lightning and a tornado all in one. Great shot by Justin Widener, who he shared through Storyful. Pretty amazing stuff there. That's nasty stuff. That was something that the Weather Service will be surveying. Owen County, I think, is under the jurisdiction of the Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio. I think. It's their westernmost county. So we'll be continuing to keep our ears peeled and our eyes peeled tomorrow for any information there. Hey, we do have a new tornado warning beyond the South Jersey one. I think we're going to have to go back into the Louisville radar site. So what can we... I'm going to try to shuffle some radars here with Kayla's help. We want Mount Holly. We want Louisville. We want Charleston. We can afford to get rid of Pittsburgh and Upton, New York. All right, Kayla, I'm going to put in a request. And the network will be back in 20 seconds. Get rid of Upton and, what did we say, Pittsburgh. Hopkinsville. All right, everybody. Hi. Thanks for joining me. I'm just putting a final... We stay up during commercial breaks on YouTube, and I'm just putting in a radar request here with one of our graphics meteorologists here because we want to reshuffle a few things so we can best assess some of these western Kentucky tornadoes, west central Kentucky tornado threats, and also the ongoing risk that's escalating now in far northern Virginia. So remember, we talked, some of you asked an hour or two ago about Washington, D.C. Is there a risk in D.C.? We had Guy Pearson on, and Guy said pretty decisively, yes, he is still concerned because we haven't seen any big thunderstorms there, and there's a lot of instability around. The storms that popped off to the east of Washington, D.C., near Anne Arundel County, had a lot of lightning, and they kind of went from 0 to 60 pretty fast. Now we have a tornado threat emerging into an area of Winchester, Virginia. And here we are coming off of the mountains here. New tornado warning for Frederick County, Virginia, and just went confirmed tornado warning in the area of Hampshire County, West Virginia, into Frederick County, Virginia. This is over the mountains here. The mountains between West Virginia, that's supposed to be a WV, and then VA, Winchester, Virginia, and then here's the cutout. This becomes the eastern panhandle of West Virginia as well. Again, this is west of I-81. It includes the beltway around Winchester. And a tornado threat, a confirmed tornado warning there for you. By the way, we're still tracking that water spout turned possible tornado. There has been a gust of over 40 knots measured with that there near Cape May. That was a 42-mile-per-hour gust 2 miles from North Cape May. So lots going on in the Northeast, the Midwest, and the Ohio Valley. Stay with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We'll have more coming your way. West of Baltimore, yeah, I agree. All right, Guy is just sharing some of his insight. DC and Baltimore, you're in this. You are absolutely ramping up now. The worst of this is going to be in the next several hours, next 2 hours. Chances of additional severe in New York City, according to Guy Pearson in our Severe Weather Center, and I would agree with this, backing off in New York City. Philadelphia, again, you're okay in the city, but south, and even your flash flood warning has expired in the city, but south and east of there, you're in the midst of this in South Jersey. Northern Delaware, still some nasty storms near Smyrna and points maybe a little north of Smyrna. Smyrna, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. Newcastle and northern Kent County, eastern Kent County of Maryland under a severe thunderstorm warning as well. Confirmed tornado warning on the doorstep of Winchester, Virginia, Frederick County. And all right, thank you, Kayla. I'm going to get these new radar sites arranged on my end. And hey, I haven't seen your chat comments recently. Forgive me for that. Yeah, thank you, Jesse, for all that. I'm going to check out the chat. Lock in, chat. All right, London, Kentucky. Yeah, we got concerns for you. There's some of the action out near Somerset and Pulaski County will be moving generally in your direction. So all of Laurel County could be at risk as well. I'm concerned. I know it's raining for you, but look out in Laurel County there soon. New Jersey, it's a mixed bag. North Jersey is doing better. Flash flooding is beginning to back off. South Jersey, we've got a tornado threat there from a waterspout in southern Cape May County. Wildwood, concerned about the tornado threat. Just stay in your shelter there. There's been a waterspout likely and confirmed over parts of the Delaware Bay that came into the far southern tip of Cape May County. Red Hill, Harleysville, I think you're going to be fine there in Harleysville. PA, State College, PA, we're in the clear for now. There could be a thunderstorm later on. Our front is still way off to the northwest, the true front that probably won't do much in New York City, but it will do a little more into northwest Pennsylvania. We could get walloped in State College still late this evening with a true frontal passage because we haven't had much. Georgia, you're going to be okay in Georgia. Don't be worried about your family in Georgia. They don't have any significant severe threat. There might be some sea breeze storms down there right now. They could use the rain, honestly. This is just business as usual there. Before the door closes on me here. Red Hill, PA? No, I don't think you're going to see much more in Red Hill. Pennsburg, you're going to be fine. You're the Green Lane Reservoir. I grew up in Montgomery County down in the middle. Norristown, you're fine. Northern suburbs of Philly, you're clear. You're in good shape there, Kristen 13H. Family in Houston, we're keeping an eye on the Gulf. In fact, we're going to be taking a look at the Gulf situation in just a little bit. Before the door closes for me to do this, I want to update. What do we want here? This is going to be, what is it? LWX. And I'm putting this in place of Pittsburgh, Sterling, Virginia. This is going to give us a good view of that new. And then what was the other one? I had Hopkinsville, and that's going to replace. I don't even know what I asked for. Up to New York. Swapping. Kayla, thank you so much. Hopkinsville, Kentucky. That's going to be great. That'll give us a view of the western part of Cave Country. And we're about to come back, and I'm going to keep the tornado analysis a little quicker this time, and then we're going to get down, I think, to the Gulf as well. All right, we are back. Thanks for joining us here on the AccuWeather Network. We have a confirmed tornado warning in the area just west of Winchester, Virginia. Drove through Winchester 2 days ago on our way back from the Carolinas. And you guys can use a little more rain, but you don't want a tornado. So earlier, reports of let me see here. There was a confirmed tornado warning earlier. I don't see any official touchdown information, but confirmed. This was a radar confirmed tornado. Let's look at the latest data. This is radar data out of Sterling, Virginia. Velocity couplet, it's still there. It is still a pretty obvious couplet. It's small, but that is a focused couplet, and that could bring a tornado to the map here. It is west of Winchester, downtown Winchester, 10 miles away. From the Beltway around Winchester, kind of the suburbs, 8 miles away or so. Take shelter west side of Winchester. You have a tornado warning for you. And into areas near Brookneal and Opaquan. And man, I might be butchering some of these names. But that's your biggest concern there, a tornado threat in the area. And a quick look at the correlation coefficient. I do see a bit of a correlation coefficient drop out. One frame back. Do we have one? I don't know if we have one back here. We do. So there wasn't much of anything going on, but I do think that this right there is debris, probably tree vegetation debris. This is mountainous area here that you get down from the mountains and close down in on I-81. So that's one tornado threat stepping from eastern West Virginia into Frederick County, Virginia. Let's go back out. That's the big story there. We're still tracking a waterspout turned tornado threat. Gusts of 42 miles per hour measured there near Cape May. Tornado threat continues here. A quick glance at the Mount Holly reflectivity and now the velocity scan. What's it look like? It looks like it's giving up right now. I think it's becoming pretty disfigured. There were two separate tornado threats here that moved through this area. One prompted the first warning. The other one we were talking about 10 minutes before the warning was issued. Still some risk of a rotation there and a possible tornado. We talked about that one as it was an obvious waterspout out over the bay. Now, let's go back to the west. we have to take a quick look at the Kentucky tornado threats. And now a new one in Huntington, West Virginia. This is a highly populated area. Huntington, West Virginia, second biggest city, one of the two biggest cities in West Virginia. And we are concerned about the Thundering Herd, home of Marshall University here. Here we have the, man, it's a nasty couplet. It's on the south side of that I-64 technology corridor, I think that's what they call it, between Huntington, just south of Huntington. It looks like it has moved into West Virginia, crossing the river. So Wayne County, West Virginia, east of the Big Sandy River, so just east of Kentucky, Wayne County, West Virginia, and then into Cabell County, West Virginia. Is the south side of Huntington is at risk. If you're anywhere near or south of I-64, take shelter in the Huntington area, as a tornado threat is moving through Buffalo Creek, and next up would be Garden Farms. To play it safe, take shelter in Huntington. The greater risk is south of downtown, near the interstate or south, but take shelter in Huntington as well, all the way up to the river. Tornado threat on the map for you. That has spun up pretty swiftly. And I don't know if perhaps Chris, Storm Chaser, is nearby, but that cell is one that is worth chasing if he's in the area. Down into Pulaski County, this one has been cycling up and down. Quick look at the view from the Jackson radar site. Velocity signature, it's looking a little bit ragged here, but it's still a storm that could be producing a tornado here. Now it would be south of the Hal Rogers / Cumberland Parkway, but near that area, and perhaps a secondary zone of rotation on the north side. So I don't want to get too specific. There may be two areas of rotation. It's probably mainly straight line winds right now, but there is a tornado threat. Eastern Pulaski County, far southern Rockcastle, and into much of Laurel County there, into the area near London. And Corbin, I wouldn't take shelter yet, but sit tight here. You may need to soon. Edmonton, there in Metcalfe County. Let's go to this Hopkinsville radar site. This is going to give us a good set of eyes out there. And there is a strong signature of inbound wind and outbound right over Beachville. Likely tornado in this area. This is Metcalfe County, Kentucky, clipping far southern Greene County, and this is right over the Cumberland Parkway. Is there any concern here with the correlation coefficient? Not terribly obvious, but we'll keep an eye on it. An area of rotation. This may be rain wrap, so you may not see it. All right, that is the tornado analysis for right now. I'm going to take those. All right, now we got issues up in Northwest PA. Quick look. Highly populated Youngstown, Ohio, Trumbull County, and northeastern Mahoning County. Tornado warning for you. We're going to get to Bill in just about 2 minutes here. I'm sorry for the delay, but this is a trending situation. Youngstown, take shelter all the way east to the area of Hubbard along I-80. This is a busy area here between Sharon, PA, and Youngstown. You got major interchanges along I-80 and big junctions and so forth. The Youngstown Metro here, again, lots of people, hundreds of thousands of people, probably, I don't know if it's 150 or 200,000 people under this tornado warning, but it's a pretty sizable chunk here. NWS Tornado Twitter. I'm going to bring up the demographics on this here, but just to show, it's probably over 100,000 people. It's 112,000 people under this tornado warning. All right, then on the less populated side, Titusville, PA, northern Venango County, tornado warning for you. And then also Townville in eastern Crawford County, we have a tornado threat there for you as well. Radar indicated. It's for the same cell. Weather Service in Pittsburgh, a little more aggressive in issuing for that. So the area around Titusville, take shelter. And all right. Cabell. Thank you. Don, I appreciate that. A friend texting me, his brother, I never knew how to pronounce the county that's home to Huntington, but it's Cabell County. And I'm not surprised by that, but I didn't know it. So I appreciate that. All right. So thank you, Brad. And as we take a look at, again, we'll keep an eye out for these areas of rotation here up in the area of eastern Crawford, northern Venango County, then into northeastern Mahoning County and southeastern Trumbull County. So the area around Youngstown, populated spot there with a tornado threat. Let's go farther south now. AccuWeather correspondent Bill Waddell is joining us now from Houma, Louisiana. This is going to be their second storm of the season. How are they? Hopefully, how are they getting ready as opposed to if are they getting ready? So, Bill, what's going on out there? I know that this is kind of a dilapidated looking tropical storm right now. Tropical storm Bertha is approaching from the east. It's dilapidated, but it is a storm that is going to bring some dangers.
Yeah, definitely some hazards. People getting all the alerts on their phones through the AccuWeather app, and we're here in Homa at the Terrebonne, one of the public facilities, and you can see where they're filling up sandbags here. And Geoff, the officials say that they have been busy lowering some of the water levels in the canals across this region just to get ready for the rain, to make way for more water that is coming in. And you could see the video here, people out bringing their own shovels. What's so interesting, Geoff, and this is not new, we encounter this time and time again when we're down here in Louisiana, people not just here getting sandbags for themselves, but they're filling up and helping their older neighbors. Of course, they're doing this in the heat and the humidity. At last check, the AccuWeather real feel around 98 degrees, and that's actually cooler thanks to some clouds compared to what we were dealing with earlier today while people were shoveling. And they say they really want to help their older neighbors because they dealt with some flooding just a few weeks ago during Tropical Storm Arthur. It caught some people off guard. These sandbags are not easy to move. Once they're filled up, they're around 30 to 50 pounds. Take a listen.
I'm helping one of my customers. It's an elderly couple get sandbags. They were about an inch away from getting water. All of the rest of their street flooded for the last tropical storm. So we're going to try to get some sandbags this go around for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Always great to see people helping out. And a few locations do have volunteers there where the sandbags have already been filled up and they're throwing them in the trunks of cars and the backs of trucks just to help people out. Now, take a look at the view from up above. We had the drone up over Lake Pontchartrain up by New Orleans earlier this afternoon. From this view, you would have no idea that there is a tropical storm on the way. Gorgeous skies, nice smooth water, and people having their sailboats out. But Geoff, with the angle of this storm, heading west, kind of parallel to the coastline. When you've got a storm like this, there's always a concern about several feet of storm surge being pushed in up against the coast and funneled into these areas. So that's why there are the storm surge alerts that are up along the Gulf Coast as well. Some of the people there at that marina were getting ready, checking on their boats, just getting ready for the storm. And the sky is darkening, Geoff. We've at times had some pop-up summer thunderstorms coming through. No rain or wind from Bertha just yet. Most of the storms have actually pushed off of the coast, but that's one of the things people here trying to get ready for Bertha have been dealing with, just those summertime pop-up thunderstorms blowing through. But at least it's cooling things down a little bit.
All right, Bill, well said. Love these sky shots there. And here you can see the storm stats, 60 miles per hour. It's actually a pretty deep zone of convection. It's just lopsided. And the bulk of the convection is on the south side of the storm. Again, so many oil rigs are going to be facing the teeth of this storm over the next 3 days, but it's also moving in, as you mentioned, to Louisiana. We're expecting to see landfall tomorrow evening. And I'm going to bring up the iPath. I want to make sure I'm not missing any new updates. Look at all those oil rigs, though. Just amazing. So here, 5 p.m. Wednesday, and then 8 a.m. Friday for perhaps a second landfall if it stays intact. If the storm drifts 30 or 40 miles farther north, it probably would become dilapidated because of land interaction over Louisiana. But again, the south side of the storm is a little healthier than the north side, so we need to keep an eye on that. And I just want to make sure I don't miss any new updates with our track. There is a new update for 4:15, from 4:15. And here's the latest. No big changes for landfall. Thanks, Bill. All right, Bill, we just went to a commercial break, Bill. Anything else you wanted to add? What's the vibe down there? People just kind of doing business as usual?
For the most part, business as usual. Yeah, I mean, again, last year was the first year in a decade where the U.S. Was able to escape the hurricane season without a U.S. landfall. But people know, luck doesn't last that long here along the Gulf Coast. They dealt with those impacts from Arthur just 4 weeks ago. And at the time, the bulk of the impacts that came here, Arthur was not officially a tropical storm, but they still had streets that were flooded. A tornado occurred around 3 o'clock in the morning in EF1 just down the road. I think we're going to be joining you there from the next hour to show you some more of that damage. So yeah, big picture, these impacts may not be all that impressive, but you got to think about the people who live down here, especially that dealt with wind and the tornado damage just 4 weeks ago. They still have blue tarps up on the roof trying to do those repairs. So here they come. We got another storm coming. Those people are going to be dealing with those impacts. And it's interesting, Jeff. I was down here in 2021 after Hurricane Ida, rode out the landfall in New Orleans, and you still see a lot of memories, a lot of scars left behind from Hurricane Ida back in 2021. So this town, very resilient. People love living down here, but that's just the way of life here along the Gulf Coast. Some years are very lucky. They may deal with one storm or no storm at all. This is going to be their second round of dealing with some impacts from a tropical storm. Locals telling us they're hoping this will be it for the season, but we've got a long way to go.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate all your reports there. Good stuff. And we're going to wander back to the north once again. We have been tracking some tornado threats in Kentucky and parts of Virginia, South Jersey as well, into Cape May County. The latest iteration of that warning has been chopped down a bit, keeping an eye on southern parts of the New Jersey shoreline here, as far south as you can go. Wildwood still officially under a tornado warning for what we tracked as a very high likelihood and eventually confirmed waterspout. Velocity data is not going to be too much to see because the storm is largely pulled north, but I do think that it was probably a landfalling waterspout if it was still producing when it made its way in. Here's the report of one of the earlier waterspout sightings there from Broadkill Beach, Delaware. Basically ran the length of the Cape May Lewis ferry route across the Delaware Bay. All right, so here we have some issues here. Another tornado warning has been issued west of Winchester. I'm going to go back to the high-res radar data out of Sterling, Virginia. What are we looking like here? Here's the latest, and I can't see an obvious couplet, which is very good news for the first warning. There it was. It came and it largely went. If there is a tornado, you can trace the strong outbound wind up this way, up near Highview Manor and Cabanis, and perhaps a little bit of inbound wind to the south. It's really not impressive looking. I suspect the tornado risk is sharply de-escalating, which is to the benefit of Winchester. But stay in your shelter if you're west of Winchester, just to play it safe here until this tornado warning officially, it's expiring in a minute. As long as this doesn't get reissued, I think the Weather Service is probably going to agree with my take on that's not worth reissuing. But there is a new tornado warning farther west in Hampshire County of West Virginia. Highly mountainous terrain here, but people often overestimate the impact of mountains on tornadoes. Tornadoes still occur in mountains. They absolutely can. And there is a risk there. This tornado warning into parts of Hampshire County of West Virginia. The AccuWeather Network is just about to rejoin us here in 2 seconds. All right, we are back on the AccuWeather Network. Thanks for rejoining us or staying with us. We've been up here on YouTube Live. I want to check out some of the comments here. Hendersonville, Tennessee, you're looking okay in Hendersonville. We need to keep an eye out for things in northern parts of the state, but I think Hendersonville is pretty far south. Yeah, it's down near Nashville. The risk is going to be mainly to your northeast. It may clip Jellicoe Mountain and other areas closer to Kentucky, but I think you're going to be okay in the Nashville area. Look out for a thunderstorm later on. And where are we getting... Where are we getting days? I don't quite understand that. Okay. I'm not quite sure about that. There are questions about Houston late in the week here. If Bertha can remain intact, if land interaction doesn't kind of ravage it as it moves through Louisiana. I would expect to kind of plan for an inch or two of rain in Houston if it does stay intact, though. And maybe more if it stays farther south, but 1 to 2 is probably the best. Please report the weather. Leave the ethics to the news channel. I'm not sure what ethical comments I was making. Don't really know about that one, but you never know. You never know. Maybe I said something. I don't want to offend anybody. We wanted to stick to the weather. All right, let's take a look at these strong storms. There are a few tornado threats, and I want to check out the radar data here out of Pittsburgh, if possible. I think. Let's see if the radar data has been added here. We have a couple of tornado threats that have emerged. Really, it's two areas of concern. I know there are 3 warnings. This is just because different weather service off. Cleveland issues this warning. Pittsburgh issues this one. So it's for the same cell. That's moving through Titusville, PA. A risk of a tornado there in Titusville, PA. I don't really have any close radar sites at the moment here, but I want to see if we can, let's see here. Pittsburgh. Here it is. This may be a little old. I don't know if any new images are in yet. I think we're waiting for that to be reestablished. So that's an older image there from Pittsburgh. But the tornado threat is still present here in Titusville, moving into far northern Venango County near Cherry Tree Township and up into an area, may clip far southwestern Warren County, southwest of Tidiute. But also there is the risk of a tornado here just east of Youngstown. The risk is present in Youngstown and on the east side up against the Pennsylvania state line, an isolated small zone there with an area of rotation that has been a concern as well. Heading out, we're going to zoom out. We're going to get back to some areas in Kentucky where we could show you some of the high-res radar data with a little more clarity. We are tracking some issues near Cabell County of West Virginia, and I appreciate Brad Sievers for the intel there on that in the area of Huntington. Severe thunderstorm warning, kind of replacing the previously issued tornado warning. And then also into an area of eastern parts of Elliott County, Kentucky, east of Sandy Hook. This was an area that got hit hard in general back on March 2nd of 2012 with the pretty horrifying tornado that moved into West Liberty, one county south there, but to the north up into Elliott County. We're tracking a tornado threat. We can give you a pretty good set of eyes on this from the Jackson radar site, and I can see a hook in the eastern part of that warning. Let's see what the velocity looks like. This is probably debatable whether the Weather Service may want to issue a tornado warning there. It's handed off from the Jackson Weather Service office to the Charleston Weather Service office here, so there may be a difference in opinion. They did issue there, I agree with that. They did issue a tornado warning there, new tornado warning issued for this pretty obvious area of rotation near Sarah and Maisie in eastern Kentucky, going from Elliott to Lawrence County of Kentucky. In the northeast corner of Kentucky. It is a bit south of I-64, well south of I-64, but this is moving from Elliott to Lawrence County, a pretty likely tornado given that strong radar presentation. It's a radar indicated threat, but you're not going to be able to see it because it's going to be wrapped perhaps in rain in this area. So that's a threat in some hilly and very forested terrain. Going down into Pulaski and the Laurel counties here, far southern Rockcastle County as well. So there's Pulaski, here's Laurel. Our friends in London were asking earlier, what's the deal? And we were concerned about some of those threats coming in from the north. There is a broad area of rotation. I say broad to kind of imply separated. It's not very tight. It's aloft and kind of broad. This area of rotation could produce a tornado. It may be more of a straight line wind producer, but there is potential for it to produce a tornado here right over the Hal Rogers / Cumberland Parkway here. And it's moving between, basically between Somerset and London. It's very close to, trying to get my bearings. So it'd be well north of like the Cumberland Falls area, north of Whitley County, but mainly and south of East Bernstadt. There is a risk in East Bernstadt. I wouldn't, I would take shelter in East Bernstadt. The greater risk is a little to your south, but take shelter in East Bernstadt at this point. As again, some of that could become a tornado-producing bit of rotation. And then we're going to go west into the other view here from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, to give us a better set of eyes on this area near Edmonton. And there's your area of rotation. This is a strong area of rotation. Looking at the correlation coefficient, there is some green. I don't know with certainty if that is a full sign of debris or not, because I see a lot of noise and there's a radar spike or two. I suspect this may actually be debris though, because it does seem a little bit more independent of that spike of bad radar data, and it is pretty well co-located with that area of rotation. So there may be some debris being lofted up into the atmosphere with that. Those are some of the concerns that we're facing there. One other issue we haven't been talking about a lot, but it is a concern, is flash flooding in northern West Virginia. I'm kind of glad to see the back edge of this heavy rain kind of collapsing pretty swiftly over Fairmount. Flash flooding still a big concern, but this could be worse. I do think this could have been worse if that heavy rain was more persistent. And in just a moment, we're going to send the AccuWeather network to break. And if I can sneak this in ever so quickly, I think after the break, we're going to be able to do this with a little more success. I'm going to bring in the Pittsburgh radar site once again, and we'll take a look at that activity in northwest PA and eastern Ohio as well. Confirmed tornado not far from Youngstown. All right, this thing just went confirmed again near Youngstown. That second before we went to break, that warning was reissued in purple. So that is a sign of trouble. What can we get rid of radar site-wise? I may drop, just thinking out loud here. Thanks for bearing with me here. Do we need Louisville still? I think we can afford to drop Louisville and replace that with Pittsburgh. So we're going to do that. And if you can't tell, there are like 6 spots in the batting order that we can bring the really high-res radar data in through, and that's what we're sometimes cycling. And 95% of the time when we have severe weather, there are approximately 6 or fewer spots getting the tornadoes at any one time. So that's how we kind of get away with it, but we do have to change things. So this has spun back up into a confirmed tornado warning. So what is the deal here? What are the optics? I want to see. So I do see a report plotted. Can't tell if it was funnel or tornado. So the airport reported a funnel cloud. I think forecasting probably knows that, but I'm going to give them a heads up. It's always exciting when the airport sees one. It's not exciting. It's not a good thing, but a funnel cloud. All right, cool. So that's why the Weather Service re-upped to a confirmed tornado warning. And we got 20 seconds. I want to see any comments. I want to make sure I'm not missing any major comments that you're making. Maryland, yeah, there is a tornado in Kentucky. We are concerned about that. People wondering about Cincinnati. Cincinnati, you're doing okay. Cincinnati is doing okay right now. Spotty shower may occur. You're not going to see much more in Cincinnati. You're doing better there, Anna Staley. Maryland, we have some threats. All right, we're back up on the AccuWeather Network talking to some people on YouTube. Flash flooding is the main concern in Maryland. Baltimore, you have a new flash flood warning for the Inner Harbor issued a bit ago. Also areas to the west. We're tracking tornado threats. Now, the Winchester area tornado warning has been allowed to expire. I agree with that. We talked about that being less impressive rotation, but we are concerned about Hampshire County of West Virginia. And let's go north. Let's go north here. Confirmed tornado warning. A funnel cloud was observed by the airport operator there, the airport observer in Youngstown. That's on the north side of town, the YNG. It's east of Warren, Ohio. So the airport observation here was kind of over this area north of Youngstown. And now, as we go over to the high-res radar data, you can see near Hell's Corners, an area of rotation. Geography Hall, there's another name for you. And this area of rotation is still likely producing a funnel cloud. It's very well-defined area of rotation. It is moving on the east side of Youngstown, and stay in your shelter if you're from the east side of Youngstown to the Pennsylvania state line. And if you're tuning in from Frizzlburg, PA, or areas northwest of Newcastle, I want to check my counties. Is that Armstrong? I think it's Armstrong. Knobs, you can check me on that. West of Slippery Rock. I think it's Armstrong County. Armstrong. I think it's Armstrong. No warning for you yet, but I would... Yeah. Thank you, Knobs. Is it? Armstrong actually is a different one. It's north... It's south of Mercer. Newcastle... take shelter, though, soon. You may need to because of a tornado threat drifting in your direction. It's south of Mercer and north of Armstrong. Lawrence County. All right. Thank you, Knobs. Lawrence County. This is going to creep into northwest Lawrence County. If this continues, the Weather Service in Pittsburgh may issue a new tornado warning for this one. We'll have to watch. They have issued for northern parts of Venango County, northeast of the area of Oil City, well northeast of Franklin. We're looking up in Pleasantville and East Shamburg. Fairly small area. In fact, this is a very low population, relatively speaking, with a smaller area up this way, northeast of Cherry Tree Township. This is 1,200 people, but still, we care about you. And areas near Pit Hole City, an area of rotation here continuing. So that is an area of concern. There may be perhaps a second zone to the north, but generally, northeastern Venango County tornado warning continuing there for about 4 more minutes. We'll keep an eye on that there in western parts of Forest County as well. You would be up next. So those are some of the hazards in the Ohio and western Pennsylvania area. You could see earlier today we had tornado. We do have a report of a tornado there. This was earlier. Cape May Point, it verified a water spout making landfall. So we were on that. We talked about it at 6:10 or so. Well, actually, we talked about it around 6:02 or 6:03 before the warning was issued, and it did verify as a tornado at 6:13. So social media video of a water spout moving on shore, time estimated by radar. The threat continues for some to the west, but now the risk has been dropping off in New Jersey. Aside from damaging straight line winds, let's go to the high-res radar data. Moving into an area south of Toms River. Toms River, you got a strong storm there. The worst of it may be near Waretown and Ocean County, southeastern Burlington County, and then northern Atlantic County under that severe thunderstorm warning. But the worst of this is going to be basically impacting areas around Surf City and High Point. And then I think that's LBI, South Seaside Park. So those are some concerns there in New Jersey. Yes. Yeah, that's Long Beach Island. All right. I want to check out. So we don't know if a tornado has officially touched down in Youngstown. We do know that the airport observed a funnel cloud on the north side. So we don't know if there was a tornado touchdown yet, but there is the risk. So that I'm answering your Youngstown questions. A few of you were wondering about that. What prompted the confirmed tornado warning was the visual observance of a funnel cloud seen from the airport. So right now we've got 7 tornado warned cells with a few more warnings than that. You can see 10 warnings for the 7 cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just checking out some comments here. I don't think there's going to be a tornado in Cincinnati later. No, your risk is sharply declining in Cincinnati. In fact, I want to see if forecasting has updated the risk map 8D. They have not, but honestly, the updated risk, if I were to draw one, it would look a little bit, the area of significant risk, I would sketch it up generally like this, and then a secondary zone kind of like this. I don't think we're going to see much trouble in Cincinnati later tonight. All right, the network's about to rejoin us. Thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. And as we continue our YouTube Live simulcast, it is 7 p.m. We're going to continue for another hour, and 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. The risk is present here in areas around D.C., in areas around Elkins, West Virginia, in southern Kentucky. Big concerns there. Long Beach Island, New Jersey, facing a straight line wind threat. While we were in break, I was showing some of our YouTube Live viewers that we did give you about 10 minutes of lead time ahead of the National Weather Service's warning of a possible tornado approaching Cape May Point, New Jersey. We talked about it. It was a water spout that did indeed become a confirmed tornado at 6:13. They issued a warning around 6:09 or 6:10, and we wanted to give you a little more lead time. So here on the AccuWeather Network, we talked about this tornado risk around 6:03 or so, or 6:02. So that was about 10-minute lead time. And it wasn't, again, a very difficult forecast. There was an obvious waterspout crossing the bay that did indeed make the run from near Lewis, near Slaughter Beach, Delaware, all the way to Cape May, New Jersey. All right, let's take you further west. Flash flooding is a concern. Wilmington, Delaware, Smyrna, Delaware, Baltimore, points west into Montgomery County, Maryland, Howard County, near areas around, Columbia, Maryland, and then a tornado warning is in effect here in Hampshire County, West Virginia. Let's take a look at some of these different risks on the map. And Sterling, Virginia is going to give us our best set of eyes on this one. There is an area of rotation there, and it continues to move generally into an area near the mountains and over the mountains of eastern West Virginia. So it's an area of rotation. There could be some straight line wind with that as well. I think there might be more straight line wind than a tornado in this area near Pendleton County, West Virginia, but still the risk is present for an isolated tornado. I would put those tornado risks a little bit lower on the scale. Let's go to storm chaser Chris O'Neill. Chris has had a lot going on in this part of Huntington, West Virginia. Flash flooding now a big concern there, Chris. So what are you observing there in the home of the thundering herd?
Well, in Huntington, West Virginia, I did experience some pooling on the roadways, and there was a motorist who appeared to have spun out. They looked okay, but in Huntington South, definitely some very high amounts of rain in a short amount of time. And so I believe there's a flash flood warning there right now. So people definitely exercise caution. I'm heading now south from the Huntington area to it looks like a town called possibly, I think, Kermit, Kentucky. But I'm going to be riding down south, and there's one more tornado warning down there right now. And as far as visibility goes, that looks like my only shot right now.
Okay. Yeah, be careful out there. I know it is tricky to get around in some of these areas.
Yes.
And visibility is tricky. But yeah, as we take a look at this area of rotation, I'm going to switch over to the high res out of Jackson, Kentucky. And there's obviously a hook. This is a supercell thunderstorm. Obvious hook on this one. And what kind of roads are you on? Are you on state highways right now?
So just some back roads right now.
Back roads, yeah.
I'm going to be coming on to 52 South right now. It looks like.
Okay.
Looks like there's a factory of some sorts here, but there's I believe it's, see what river it is. Big Sandy River. I'm running parallel in the West Virginia Kentucky border. So I'll just be riding the border south.
Okay, yeah, you're heading south. I drew it north just because that's the way the river happens to flow. But the Big Sandy there, it separates Kentucky and West Virginia. So areas around Kermit and Warfield. So he's trying to intercept this down this way. So be careful out there. Again, Chris O'Neill joining us south of Huntington, West Virginia, southbound, running along the Big Sandy River. That is to the right. In fact, the hillsides to the right of the river that you can see are Kentucky real estate. And then up the hill to the left on the near side is West Virginia real estate as he heads southward there down along the river. All right. Thank you, Chris. Good stuff. Be careful.
Thank you so much.
All right, anytime. All right, down into London, we have big concerns. This appears to be spinning up a little bit more, tightening of the rotation there south of London in Laurel County, Kentucky. Here we are, Laurel County, between London and Corbin. Very busy area here. This is probably more populated than some of you might suspect. I'm going to bring up the numbers. I'm going to guess that it's 30,000 plus. It's 54,000 people here under this tornado warning. Again, 54,000 under a tornado warning there in this portion of south central. It's central and especially south central Laurel County, Kentucky. It also includes a little bit of Knox County. Corbin is probably going to be far enough south that I don't know if you need to take shelter in Corbin, but I certainly would if you were north of Corbin. And if you're in London, stay in your shelter. Stay in your shelter in London. The greatest risk for a tornado is just south of London. This is Interstate 75. Let me check myself on that. I'm going to zoom out. That is I-75 there. They're in London, in Laurel County, Kentucky, with a tornado threat escalating. And this is a pretty obvious risk of a tornado. It'll be rain wrapped, and you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. All right, let's go farther west and down into an area near Cumberland County, Kentucky, along the Cumberland Parkway. We need to bring up the Hopkinsville radar site. This is going to give us a better set of eyes on things here. And southern parts of Metcalfe into northern Cumberland County and northeastern Monroe County, Kentucky. Here we have also an obvious tornado couplet here, obvious rotation area. There's a little bit of a separation. We're hitting this higher up in the atmosphere. How far are we from Huntington or from Hopkinsville? The answer is probably about 80 miles, 93 miles. It's still our best bet, I think. I think it's our best bet. So we're hitting this fairly high up, and there's broad rotation, but it's strong rotation aloft in the atmosphere. I want to see if we have any more. All right, I think I do see a report of a tornado from Youngstown, which we don't like to see. Tornado confirmed by Mahoning County Emergency Management toward the side of Youngstown, the east side of Youngstown, moving southeast toward Campbell. And that is a big concern there in eastern Ohio, moving into western PA. And that is Lawrence Snobs. Thank you for that, as you mentioned. Confirmed tornado here. Confirmed tornado moving through the east side of Youngstown, now east of Youngstown. And the Pittsburgh radar site is going to give us our best bet here. It has now moved into Pennsylvania. And stay in your shelter if you are east of Youngstown along the state line. I think that central Mahoning County can come out of your shelter, though. But the confirmed tornado warning is in effect here for Lawrence County of PA, western Lawrence, northwestern Lawrence County, northwest of Newcastle, where a tornado warning continues. And we're looking at an area of rotation. Here it is, and it has been associated with a confirmed tornado. There's the report earlier on the east side of Youngstown. Tornado confirmed by Mahoning County Emergency Management on the east side of Youngstown, moving southeast toward Campbell. And local TV there was even broadcasting video of it for a time. So that's a big danger. That's a big danger. There's a confirmed tornado warning. Let's see if the velocity, well, let's see if the correlation coefficient, there's correlation coefficient dropout as well, the blue. This was a pretty obvious couplet that also produced a correlation coefficient dropout. So this is debris up here. This was back at, what time was it? The time was 6:52 or so at that moment. And so many of you on YouTube, you've been asking a lot about Youngstown. Yes, there was a tornado touchdown on the east side of Youngstown, and it continued to produce debris in the atmosphere, several zones of debris, and now we can see some debris. I don't know if it's from one couplet or two. It's possible debris from a single tornado kind of got fractured, or maybe there could be a second tornado, but most likely we're looking at one. And here's the area of rotation, Frizzleburg to Edinburgh, mainly closer to Frizzleburg. That's your area of rotation. Take shelter if you're in Edinburgh Harbor or Frizzleburg in northwestern Newcastle County of PA. And the Weather Service may need to increase the size of this tornado warning over a larger zone, perhaps, as it is a big danger here, bringing a risk of a tornado here, and it has produced a tornado. I see a new tornado warning issued. This is going to be the second one west of Winchester, because the first cell weakened, the second one's rolling in, and that continues to maintain its intensity. This is the cell that's been moving through Hampshire County of West Virginia, and the rotation has had some longevity to the point that the Weather Service issues a new tornado warning here for areas around Davis Ford, Capon Lake, and other areas here from eastern Hampshire County into the mountainous side, the far western part of Frederick County, Virginia, well west of Winchester proper. Other area of possible tornadic activity near Petersburg and Grant County, West Virginia, and into western Hardy County. Another one down into Pendleton County of West Virginia over the high ground. And we can switch over to the Charleston radar site here for this one. Looking at the velocity scan, let's see what we see. It's looking a little bit more ragged there, but there is still some rotation. So the tornado threat will be in effect there. And then back into eastern Kentucky, into an area near Lawrence County, south of Louisa. We can look at this one from, it's a toss-up. Jackson's going to be the best bet. Jackson is the best bet for sure. And strong rotation continuing here near Davisville. So look out, far eastern Kentucky. We're looking at an area of rotation into Lawrence County, Kentucky. Southwest of Louisa. Big concerns there. Big concerns also between London and Corbin. Get in your shelter, stay in your shelter there in Laurel County and also northwestern parts of Knox County, Kentucky, due to a tornado threat continuing south of London. All right, people wondering about Mercer, PA. We just sent the AccuWeather Network to a break. We are up here on YouTube Live still. Mercer County, PA, I think you're going to be running the gap here, and you look okay. You really do. You're not far from trouble, but, this is past south of Hermitage, south of Sharon. Yeah, it's well south of Sharon. It's a nasty storm, though. I mean, you can see almost a curlicue on the reflectivity. Certainly a supercell. It's pushing southeast toward Newcastle, and the velocity scan continues to show some rotation with this one. There it is. Green inbound, red outbound near Harbor. Get ready for it in Newcastle. It is in Newcastle County, but Newcastle proper is going to be at risk. I want to see the Sharon label pop up. I expected to see it here. Why is it not here? Am I mixed up? Yeah, but I do think you're okay there in Mercer County, PA. I know it's close by, but it's just to your south. And you may be clipped. Well, yeah, there's Mercer, Sharon, PA, Knobs. I expected to see the. Yeah, the Sharon's right on I-80, right? Yeah, I don't know why it's not popping up. But that's Sharon, PA. But you're okay there. The tornado threat is to your south. Just going to fact check myself, and I think it's on the interstate there. Yeah. It's west of Hermitage. Yeah. Yeah. There it is. There it is. All right. That's a pretty big town. I was surprised it was, I guess Hermitage just outweighed it there with the filtering. All right. This would be a good, Niles, we should do a podcast where you and I just debate geographical references in Western PA. That's must-see TV. All right. Those of you, Westmoreland, PA, wondering about, well, you've had a heck of a weekend in Westmoreland County, PA. You had multiple tornadoes confirmed there in Westmoreland County back on Saturday. Look at the lightning in Seaside Heights, by the way. You're doing okay in Westmoreland County for now. I am concerned about the trough in the front itself. It's still to your west. You probably have like PTSD in some parts of Westmoreland County with all the recent tornadoes that have been confirmed there in recent years. The door is still open for trouble, and it's a couple of hours out. So I would not be complacent in Westmoreland County, and I would expect to see the risk of a thunderstorm that could go severe for you later on. Here is the HRRR. This is the short-range rapid refresh. Man, I made a mess on that with the sketching and then bring up a different map. But here you can see just big picture. This is the short-range model, and you can see nothing alarming by any stretch, but there's this band of storms that moves through Westmoreland County, possibly 11 p.m. My gut would say it may be earlier than that. Sometimes the HRRR runs a little bit late. So I would say, I think this is going to be earlier than that. I would say 10 to midnight, maybe 9:30 p.m. to midnight. I would expect a gusty storm in parts of Westmoreland County of PA. The tornado risk is not zero, but there's nothing urgent or imminent there. Staten Island, what are we looking at in Staten Island? Here, I think the risk is really dropping off for you. You do have some residual, ponding of water on the roads, but there's nothing urgent or imminent for Staten Island. Your atmosphere has been worked over more, and this band of storms is going to hit New York City so late that I don't think we're going to see severe with it, but there will be some thunder and lightning after midnight. All right, we are live here on the AccuWeather Network. And we're just talking to some people giving two different forecasts. One for Westmoreland County near Pittsburgh, where there have been several tornadoes confirmed last Saturday in Westmoreland County. And here we said that maybe between 9:30 and midnight, there could be a gusty storm. Still, that trough has to kick through. Not a sure bet. There will be some gaps on radar, but there could be a gusty thunderstorm that moves through. We got to keep an eye out for the risk for an isolated tornado. Then there was a question about Staten Island. I don't think you're going to see severe, but you may have some rumbles of thunder with some rain with the front late tonight. There is a new tornado warning for the Jersey Shore. This is for an area north of High Point and for an area south of the Seaside Park. We have seen some trouble here, and I'm going to get rid of the lightning, bring over the high-res radar data for Mount Holly, New Jersey, and what are we looking at here? We've already had, so I think this is it. So, and frankly, the risk is already moving offshore. There's probably a waterspout here. There's an area of rotation that blitzed across the Barnegat lighthouse area, and I don't know if it's producing a waterspout, but I would not at all be surprised. The storm produced a gust of 48 miles per hour at a buoy near Weirton, 2 miles east of there. 2 miles east. How far out does that take us? So it would have been over the bay, but it's what, Barnegat Bay. But now I think we're looking at, and I'm pretty confident, we're looking at a waterspout So I bet somebody has some eyes on a memorable view there just off the Jersey Shore. We would not recommend getting out. We want you to stay in your shelter. As a policy, we'd recommend getting down to the lowest floor of your home. These homes are on stilts in these beach communities, so stay in the first floor. If you rented the second floor and you really want to be safe, you could zip down into the storage area down below, the storage area near where you park your car, where you got the boogie boards and so forth. That's going to be the safest place to be. I really do think, frankly, that the tornado risk is offshore right now, and I think there's a water spout about 2 miles offshore. But just as a general policy, there may be another spin up. There could be a tornado. I really suspect the real risk is actually just offshore. So I would be comfortable. If I was on vacation there, I would be comfortable, even if I rented the second floor of one of those homes there. And it's really the third floor, because you got the parking area, the house on stilts, then the first floor, then the second floor. I would be comfortable telling my family to go into the bathroom upstairs. It's not conventional tornado warning wisdom. I realize that. But I say that with some confidence because I really do believe, and I have confidence in this, a few minutes ago, before this was issued, there may have been a tornado. And it may have crossed this area just north of Barnegat Light. I got to get some eyes on. I'd like to see a city label there. We want to do better for you than just that. North of Barnegat Light. That would be Sedge Island. You know what? This is good news. Most of this, north of Barnegat Light, is a state park. So nobody lives there. Highland Beach State Park. Farther north, I don't know where we even hit. All right, so there's a restaurant. You have to head pretty far north, closer to Seaside Park, to get to where there are actual people. Much of that's a state park. And I suspect we had a tornado cross the landmass there as a water spout that became a tornado, perhaps, because there was a pretty good little couplet that spun up. But now, that's all the way out here. So if I were under the tornado warning up here to the north, near South Seaside Park, I would be comfortable telling my family to go into the bathroom away from windows even on the second floor. I know that's not tornado advice in this case, in this exception. I think that would be okay. All right, let's go back into Northwest PA. We have a tornado threat. Now, Newcastle, you do have a tornado warning for you. I think that's a good call. As this just continues to produce some rotation, and we've had upstream a confirmed tornado there. And this has a history of trouble. Moving from Harbor to Newcastle, this is going to be a long, it's west of I-79, still well west of I-79, moving into the Newcastle area. Let's go farther west. I don't want to neglect our Kentucky friends. And before we fully get there, all right, the Winchester tornado warning, the one west of there, has been allowed to expire. I know that you've had two in the western part of the county, out in western parts of Frederick County, because of two cells. The second cell has also been a little disrupted. Petersburg, West Virginia. That's Petersburg, West Virginia. Take shelter. We have a tornado threat for you as a new zone of rotation has spun up. Charleston's radar site, what's it going to do for us here? Man, we're getting up into the mountains here, but there is a zone here near Dorcas and Bass where there is some rotation. All right, let's go farther south. There is another zone of possible rotation. It's kind of hugging the north side of this warning. Here we are into mountainous areas here, Pendleton County, West Virginia, and frankly, the tornado threat is greatest, I think, up to the north. Earlier, we had a strong push, and there may have been a brief tornado threat into Franklin. Take shelter if you're in Franklin. Play it safe. I do think the greater tornado threat might be to your north, though, the way the couplet is evolving. A storm chaser, Chris, is tracking south along the Big Sandy River. I suspect he's probably still north of Louisa, but it just takes some time. Maybe he's through Louisa. But this has been a tornado threat that we're concerned about as well in eastern parts of Lawrence County, Kentucky. So from Lawrence County, PA to Lawrence County, Kentucky. That's a nasty little couplet. Still holding on strong. Take shelter, Richardson, Patrick, Benbow, Clifford, and eastern Lawrence County, Kentucky. We have a tornado threat for you. Let's go down to London. This has been one of the more established tornado threats. I don't need to leave the high-res radar there from Jackson, Kentucky. I was in Charleston's world there a minute ago. Here's Jackson. This might be shearing out. This might be becoming more of a straight line wind risk. I kind of like the trend, but still stay in your shelter there near and east of Corbin and into Arkell, and moving into far northwestern parts of Knox County and eastern Laurel County. If you're in London, give it 10 more minutes and you can clearly come out of your shelter then, unless something else spins up. We got more thunderstorms. The bigger risk is east into Knox County. I think it's trending a little bit more straight line wind soon, but we're not fully there. There's still a tornado threat. Take shelter also in Cumberland and eastern Monroe counties of Kentucky as well. All right, we just sent the AccuWeather Network to a commercial break. This is still a nasty storm. I got to hit this a little harder when the network rejoins us here in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I think 2 minutes. Still a risk there. Still a risk of a tornado in Metcalfe, Cumberland counties and northeastern parts of, is that Monroe, do we say? Monroe County of Kentucky. All right. So I think that covers the tornado threats. All right. Well, hey, it's kind of nice when we learned that nobody lives in the area just north of Barnegat Light for a bit because it's state park. Elmira, New York. You're in a decent spot here. The front is still to your west, but I don't see much of any lightning out there near Olean and Cattaraugus County or Allegheny County, 2 counties to your west of Elmira. The door is still open, though, for severe weather for you. It really is. But the behavior of these storms moving eastbound on I-86 is not that threatening. Bigger concerns to the north, up near Rochester and Geneseo. We'll keep an eye on it. My concern for Elmira is like 2 out of 10. If it was a 6 out of 10 earlier today. The new severe warning issued for, this is Pennsylvania's least populated county, Forest County, PA. And a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect there. Northern parts of Clarion County, severe thunderstorm warning. Northern Jefferson County under a severe thunderstorm warning. That cell had been rotating at one point. Yeah, so we've got some issues here. Let's see if there's more trouble here in South Jersey. What's this, Salem County? That's Salem County. All right. Thanks for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We're tracking another heavy thunderstorm moving through the area of South Jersey. And we've seen occasional tornado threats associated with brief waterspout risks. The Weather Service agrees, and they let this tornado warning go. That waterspout has moved offshore now. But right before the break, I kind of was rushing through the southern Kentucky tornado threats, and I didn't give you a really good look at this Burkesville area tornado threat. So we're going to look up the Hopkinsville radar site, and this is still a pretty strongly rotating cell. I'm concerned about the area of Burkesville in Cumberland County, Kentucky, eastern and southeastern Metcalfe, far eastern Monroe County, Kentucky. There's still some rotation there as well. So that is a concern. By the way, we have Scottsville, bottom left. You got a severe thunderstorm warning. And Knobs, if you wanted to bring Scottsville up full, I don't know how easy that is to do. But, we're in a severe storm here in this area of Scottsville, Kentucky. There's the view from Earth Cam. It's a nice cam. We show it from time to time, and it's prime time there in Scottsville. In fact, the Weather Service in Nashville is issuing a new severe thunderstorm warning just to the south into Sumner and Macon counties of Tennessee. Earlier, one of you on Facebook or on YouTube Live asked about Hendersonville. My opinion hasn't really changed. I think you're going to be okay in Hendersonville. But the risk of a severe thunderstorm is not zero for you. It's just much greater to your north. Campbell County, Tennessee. Yes, I've just, I actually, just through happenstance... Campbell County, Tennessee. Where are you? You're under a warning? Campbell County, Tennessee? Campbell County, Tennessee. Where are you? Say again. Oh, okay. Thank you. I see. Jellicoe Mountain area. Yeah, not a warning yet for you, but we got to keep an eye on you. All right, so Campbell County. There you are. I've been through there, just didn't know the county name. Jellicoe Mountain and points south along I-75. You are going to be facing a severe risk there for a bit. There are haves and have-nots here with setups like this. For example, in Wayne County, Kentucky, Monticello, it's kind of a walk in the park between two storms. But to the northeast and west, we've got big concerns. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mel. Boop, boop, boop. Jesse, I think we are good. I'm fine with that. And I, you know, especially considering the status in New York, Philly, Baltimore, there will be concerns in D.C., but there's also a lot of rain that's stratiform. I would be comfortable with that. Yeah, thanks, Mel. Yeah, so the question of northeastern Kentucky or northeastern Tennessee, you know, there's a spacing, but there are areas that are going to face a nasty storm, and that'll include areas northeast of Livingston, Tennessee, maybe out near the Tri-Cities, Bristol, Kingsport, Johnson City. There's a lot of rain in advance of this, though, and this storm that's moving through London and Corbin and Laurel County, by the time it gets down to, what's this, Bell and Harlan counties of Kentucky, and we got Letcher. Oh, no, I'm not even there. No. Yeah, that's right. That's the state line. Bell and Harlan. There's some stratiform rain here, and that's going to be like an argument against severe weather there. It may sustain itself. There's some pretty good instability, but there's also steady rain in advance of this, and that often is an argument against strengthening because the atmosphere is becoming more stable for you. So in northern Tennessee, I'm most concerned about the area near Salina and Byrdstown. What is that? That is that Cumberland Lake? Lake Cumberland? Lake Cumberland might be farther north. We stayed down there once, and I'm trying to remember the name of the lake. I should remember it. The lake area of Dale Hollow. Yeah, we stayed at Dale Hollow. Dale Hollow Lake. You're going to face a threat. So the part of Tennessee I'm most concerned about is specifically Dale Hollow Lake, and then damaging wind into Lafayette as well to the west. But Dale Hollow Lake, look out. So it's southeast Kentucky and north-central, northeastern parts of Tennessee. These lakes are nice, by the way, if you ever get the chance. We stayed at Dale Hollow State Park on the north side in Kentucky, I believe it was. So of the big cities in the Northeast, I'm very unconcerned about New York. Philadelphia, you're in the clear. Baltimore, you got some flash flooding, and it's still raining, so flash flooding are concerns. With that said, for all those locations, the cold front still to your northwest, you may face a strong storm overnight tonight. I don't think it'll be severe. It could be severe. I don't think it'll be severe, but the risk is down from what it was earlier today. Now, in central PA and northern parts of New York State, near the Finger Lakes, we still have some concerns there. The atmosphere is still unstable, and we have some local problems into areas. And there is a new tornado warning in far northeastern Clarion County of PA. I'm going to bring up the Pittsburgh radar site. What is this going to do for us here? Can we see it? Yes, we can. It is fairly high up in the atmosphere, but there is a new tornado warning here up near Cooksburg. That's a great place too. Cooks Forest, old growth forest, Cooks Forest State Park. Their tornado warning for Cooks Forest. They've had tornadoes there in the past, even in the state park. All right, thanks for being with us here. Several years ago, there was an EF0 that knocked down some trees in Cooks Forest State Park. We may see something similar. You can actually, on one of the trails, you can actually walk right by the path of the damage there from an EF0. There's a new tornado warning for Cooks Forest. There it is, Clarendon, Cooktown, Cooks Forest State Park there. A lot of people camp there this time of the year. Northeastern Clarion, Southern Forest, northwestern Jefferson County of Kentucky. Look out, or North Jefferson County of Pennsylvania. Muscle memory, Jefferson County is home to Louisville. This is Jefferson County of PA. There's also a feisty cell that has produced a history of tornadoes in east side of Youngstown. The tornado was visible from the airport, or at least a funnel cloud was visible from the Youngstown airport earlier an hour ago. Now, right over Newcastle, big concerns. We got a tornado threat here. Take shelter in Newcastle County. There is a correlation coefficient signature. Man, it's dirty because there's a lot of noise and a lot of garbage data nearby, but I do think that this right here may be debris. And as we go back one frame, look at that. That is likely debris. I think this is still producing. I'm almost surprised this is not being issued a confirmed tornado warning because of that. It's got to be borderline. borderline confirmed because of the radar data. All right, that's a big concern. I'm going to briefly take us farther south. So big concerns, Cooks Forest and northern Jefferson County of PA, northeastern Clarion. You know who you are there. You know Cooks Forest. And then Lawrence County of PA in Newcastle. Tornado threat. I think this tornado warning could be easily expanded given the signature. I'm going to go back just briefly. And I don't know if there's much reason to be really selective in this warning because it is going to continue to move crossing I-79. I'm really concerned about this area southeast of Newcastle, and I think people might benefit from a little more lead time than these surgically small tornado warnings. I think we need to get a tornado warning. I think the Weather Service hopefully is typing one up southeast of there because this is still clearly producing at least a funnel cloud. Castlewood, McConnell's Mill, Portersville, PA, look out there. I would even be concerned in western Butler County. If you're in western Butler County there, southwest of Slippery Rock and near McConnell's Mill, trying to remember that lake there. I've been on it. In western Butler County, northwestern Butler. I would, if you have anybody in your life who's out on a boat at Moraine Lake, or Lake Arthur, it's Moraine State Park and Lake Arthur, PA, tell them to get to shelter. They should not be out there at all. This is a possible tornado producer moving into Moraine State Park and Lake Arthur. No warning issued yet. Hopefully the Weather Service does it. It's still producing a strong couplet there. So look out, especially the west end of Lake Arthur going to be facing a significant risk of a tornado. No part of Lake Arthur, PA there in western Butler County is safe. No warning yet. They should get one out there. There is an area of rotation. I think it's a matter of time. All right, let's go farther west. There's so much benefit to the emergency alert system, and it only works if there's a warning out there. And it takes sometimes 15 minutes to get off the lake. They need to get a warning out there. At a minimum, a severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible tag. All right. Here we have Hardy County of West Virginia and northeastern Pendleton County of West Virginia. Tornado threats continuing for you in those areas. Still no warning. I don't know why. I do not know why. Let's go back. I want to see the latest frame. Maybe they're waiting for something, but I think it's a disservice at this point to not have a warning out. The tornado is about to exit the warning, and you got people out on a lake, most likely, who have not even a severe thunderstorm warning 10 miles away. It may take more than that length of time to get to shelter. We have the world's best alerting system on the planet, hands down, but without a warning, it does nothing for you. Hopefully you have the AccuWeather app and you're getting those AccuWeather alerts. Yes. Tech chat. Okay, thank you. The tornado warning for Long Beach Island is no longer. There is a flash flood emergency. Thank you for that. Flash flood emergency just, this is a busy area, Buckhannon, PA, or Buckhannon, West Virginia, just east of I-79. This is a place where a lot of people vacation. There's some nice stuff to see there. Buckhannon, flash flood emergency for Upshur County, West Virginia, eastern Lewis County, barely southeast of Weston, barely east of the interstate. Does not include the interstate. Flash flood warning for I-79, east of I-79 from Alkers Mills east. Flash flood emergency, also including Randolph County and northern Upshur County. Thank you for that, Mel, and Jesse, whoever else posted. And let's look at the high-res Charleston 6-hour precip estimates. It's not looking good. This is mountainous terrain. 4 or 5 inches of rain. What's the 1 hour look like? What does the 1 hour look like? 1 hour looks not good. There could be 2 to 4 inches in an hour in some spots. Now, that may be a little hot, but regardless, a flash flood emergency, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous situation. Still raining here. 4 or 5 inches of rain. This is the emergency alert system at its best when a flash flood emergency communicates a more heightened risk. That's the area, that sea green. Have they done it? They still have not done it. All right, now there is a tornado warning as the tornado is about to exit, and it includes, thankfully, the lake. That was my main concern, the state park there this time of the year. So the Weather Service in Pittsburgh has issued a tornado warning now for this area. I don't mean to be punchy. We're all fighting the same battle. Our goal is the same. But I think the tornado has exited the previous warning. That's why I was getting a little bit rammy with the lack of warning here for areas where people are out on a lake and it takes them more than 6 or 7 minutes to get to shelter. So that's the idea. All right. They do great things. And as we take a look at the area from Newcastle County southward to Prospect, or from Newcastle in Lawrence County southward to Prospect, that is your tornado warning that rightfully covers a larger area because of an ongoing significant tornado threat. There is a new tornado threat here as well into areas west of Carrollton. This is in Carroll County of eastern Ohio. Small-scale storm. And there's a very small-scale warning here, also impacting a lake. People should get off the lake there near Delroy and Atwood Village. So a small zone of rotation ramping up. Tornado threat there into Carroll County. Take shelter. The flash flood emergency, a big story, developing story. We're going to show you video tomorrow, most likely on the AccuWeather network. That's probably going to be unpleasant because of damage there. Buckhannon, Alkers Mills, Abbott, Ivy, Ellamore, people facing some dangerous flash flooding, a flash flood emergency, heightened flash flood emergency. I have some good news for you down in southern Kentucky. And then we're going to go down to Tropical Storm Bertha. We're down to one tornado warning. However, it's still a problem. Burkesville, we're in Cumberland County, so we want to take a look at this from the Hopkinsville radar site, I think. No, maybe we'll do Jackson. Man, that's in between the two. Hopkinsville. All right. And there is still a zone of some rotation near Burkesville. This is, we're hitting this so high up there. So the area of rotation is here. And again, forgive its ragged appearance. It is something we're sampling from a good distance away. Maybe we are better off from Jackson. And there it is, the outbound and the inbound. It's right over Burkesville. It's broad. We're hitting this high up. And again, that's the idea there. All right. Take shelter there in Moraine State Park. Hopefully you're tuned in through YouTube on your phone and you know that there is danger headed your way. Now let's go to the south. Tropical Storm Bertha is going to cause some big headaches for people down in Houma, Louisiana, about an hour south of New Orleans. AccuWeather's Bill Waddell is there. And he says that they're still cleaning up from the last storm in advance of Tropical Storm Bertha. Bill?
Hey, Jeff, it's good to see you. Yeah, in this neighborhood, for the most part, the rain and wind that's expected from Bertha, not all this that bad. But on this street, it is going to cause some problems because of the tornado that ripped through from Tropical Storm Arthur just 4 weeks ago. I mean, check it out. This store, you could see the windows and the doors are boarded up. The signs are blown out. Part of the roof of this store was actually ripped off, and a lot of rain came inside. When you look at the video from up above at the drone, there are blue tarps up on houses up and down the street. And one of the homes, the roof was ripped right off. You could see right inside of it like a dollhouse. So for families that live on this street, they dealt with flooding and tornado damage just 4 weeks ago from Tropical Storm Arthur. Now they are getting ready to deal with more rain from Bertha. And again, a lot of those tarps are up because they're still waiting for repairs and those insurance claims to go through. Take a look at the video up the road, up at the Terrebonne Parish Civic Center. People have been out in the heat and the humidity. They have been shoveling and filling those sandbags. They're not just helping themselves. People tell us that they're getting those sandbags to help their older neighbors. When they're filled up, those sandbags can weigh 30 to 50 pounds or more. So they're not easy to move around, especially with the heat and the humidity. Take a listen.
Just in case to have them, and then, you know, it's better to get it earlier in the season anyway, because you never know around here, so got to stay stocked.
Yeah, Christine says she knows it's a long hurricane season ahead. This is going to be the second storm they're dealing with tropical impacts. They're hoping that's going to be it for the season, but we know we've still got months to go with this Atlantic hurricane season. And when it comes to what officials are doing in this area, it's not just the sandbag stations, but we're being told that they are lowering water levels at canals throughout these coastal parishes just to make room for the rain that's moving in. Officials up in New Orleans say that most of the major drainage pumps are online and ready to go. But again, Jeff, when you've got a storm like Bertha, when you look at it on satellite, it is quite messy, but it's really the path and the direction, totally opposite from Arthur. This one is heading west hugging the coast, and the way the storm cycles could be pushing in a lot of water in places like Lake Pontchartrain and up in those coastal stretches. So that's why people are getting so many alerts on their phones. And again, a lot of people asking what's going to happen next after the storm, not just asking about the impacts here in Houma, Louisiana. A lot of people are curious how Bertha is going to survive with that land interaction, and if it really is going to continue moving west, and how many impacts it could truly bring to Texas.
Yeah, it's the million-dollar question, Bill. Just seeing a question from somebody on YouTube Live. They got to fly into or out of New Orleans, in and out of New Orleans on Thursday at 4:40 p.m. That may be the time that we have still some trouble lingering, but I wouldn't expect airport closures there in New Orleans. In fact, most of it should be west of New Orleans by then. I'm playing out future radar here to kind of coincide with what you were talking about. And to your point, it's the south side of New Orleans that's going to have the worst of the trouble with the storm being somewhat lopsided and disheveled. Bill, appreciate all your... Yeah, what's your game plan for tomorrow? Are you going to stay in Houma for this one?
Good question, Jeff. I am not sure myself. I might be heading back to New Orleans, checking out Lake Pontchartrain as far as the surge. A lot of talk about Venice. That community really sticks out, far southeast Louisiana. That's one of those areas we're curious how much storm surge may be pushed in. So we're checking in with the other chasers, the other folks helping out AccuWeather, just to see where everybody's going to be strategically pointed out. But it's either going to be here in Houma, possibly Venice, or up by Lake Pontchartrain.
All right. The true team player, Bill Waddell. And it's a bit of a chess game here for our friend Doug Hicks and others trying to put all the pieces in place. Plus, we may be covering some severe weather in the Mid-Atlantic as well tomorrow. Bill, thanks again for everything.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, Bill. Yeah, all right. Let's I'm looking at the chat here. Ben, we're wondering what town you're in. You said you're in a mobile home and you're concerned about what you should do. You're in Pennsylvania. Well, 99% of Pennsylvania does not have a tornado threat, but there is a significant risk in two small areas. So it all depends on where you are. That's what people were asking. And now people are using capital letters to ask where you are. All right. So let's take a look at what's going on here with this tornado threat moving into Moraine Lake State Park, and it's still a nasty storm. And you could tell I was a little frustrated there wasn't a warning issued earlier because it was kind of an obvious threat. I never want to criticize the Weather Service. They do a great job, and they're a critical part of the weather safety for the world and for the U.S., I should say. I was just, getting antsy because that tornado warning, in my opinion, would benefit from being issued earlier, given people out on a lake with no warning and the obvious continued progression of this tornado threat southward. And it's awfully close to the lake. The lake is rightfully, this is Lake Arthur. The western end of Lake Arthur is under the warning. Whether the tornado crosses the southwesternmost bay there, or cove, that's a different question. But man, it's a nasty storm. Still rotating there, and it has a pretty fierce hook. So get ready for it there in western Butler County, Prospect, and areas near Petersville, even near and north of Zelia and Opal. We're going to face a tornado threat along Interstate 79. This may be the biggest threat in the moment here in the Northeast. All right, we're back here on the AccuWeather Network. We're continuing to track a dangerous tornado risk in parts of eastern Lawrence County and into western Butler County, areas from Princeton and Castlewood all the way east to the west end of Lake Arthur in Moraine State Park, I should say, in Butler County. This includes a big chunk of Interstate 79 there. We're looking at an area of strong rotation and obvious sustained longer track tornado threat that has quite the history. In fact, I'm going to bring up our shear tracks. And Jesse, I know that you like when we do this. I should do it more often. When I bring up the shear rate, here's the shear track. Look at this. The funnel cloud was seen by the airport workers at the Youngstown Airport 40 miles away. Well, 40 miles ago in the storm's path. It was just mere miles from their location. At this point, this tornado track has only strengthened. It has only strengthened. And it continues to bring a big danger here. And I was, getting a little antsy that there was not a new warning issued here for people who were out at Moraine State Park and Lake Arthur, because now here it is. And sometimes if you're out on a boat, it takes 15 minutes to get to safety. I don't know if you can afford that if the warning is issued late. So that's where I was coming from with that. As we take a look at the ongoing severe threat up into areas of northern Jefferson County, PA, here we have an ongoing tornado threat as well. This one doesn't have quite the same appearance. We're looking admittedly farther from the radar site here. Might benefit from the State College radar site again. Let me see what we can afford to get rid of. What can we afford to get rid of? We need Hopkinsville, arguably. All right, we'll make that decision here in a minute. I'm going to put that request in. Kayla, I don't know if you can hear me. If we could put CXX in place of Mount Holly. I'm going to message you with that. CXX, State College, in place of Mount Holly. I want to get better eyes on that north central PA storm. We have to play whack-a-mole, kind of rotating different sites in and out. As we take... Oh, if she could put State College in place of Mount Holly. Yeah, thank you. By the way, a big story that's going to be, unfortunately, significant news here. We have a flash flood emergency in eastern Lewis County of West Virginia, barely east of I-79, from barely southeast of Weston in through Buckhannon. Buckhannon is like a destination here. You can... it's a nice place to stay, and there's all kinds of great hiking around. It's a beautiful area, and that often is a magnet for people this time of the year here in the summer months. Well, I'm going to read you some of the reports. In fact, I'm going to bring them up here that coincide with the flash flood emergency. Hickory Flat run out of its banks near Walnut Drive. That was at 3:28. That was 4 hours ago. That's a problem. Photo showing several city streets flooded with swift-moving water in Buckhannon. I want to get down here tighter. I want to be able to click on these other ones. That's a more recent one. So swift-moving water through the city of Buckhannon. 6:55, significant flooding along Morgan Addition Road with homes affected by the floodwater. Swift water rescues underway for people trapped in the upstairs of their home. Brush Fork Road. These people are in a bad spot. They're stuck in the upstairs of their home on Brush Fork Road there in Buckhannon, 4 miles southwest. And then Stone Cold Lake flooded. That was back at 3 p.m. So they were flooded at 3 p.m., and then it continued to rain for 4 hours. Look at the map. I'm going to, you can see just the dimpled nature of all of what, if you've ever driven up and down I-79 in West Virginia, it's not like an organized ridge and valley situation like you have 100 miles to the east, 200 miles to your east, near the Blue Ridge, near I-81. I-81, it's a ridge and it's a valley. It's a ridge, it's a valley. This is like dimpled real estate here where you have nothing but hills, and in the low spots, small streams and creeks. Where is it easy to build? It's easy to build in those little flat spots. That's where they put roads. That's where they put homes as well. We see this in eastern Kentucky, very dangerous. And it also happens in parts of, you can see, as I zoom in, you can see here's a highway. I forget the number, but it goes from Weston to Buckhannon. And, that's where people happen to live. It's the low spot. It's also the spot where you can build. It's dangerous, very dangerous. So this is what we're dealing with. Buckhannon's on the north side of this, all the way down to Hampton, Sago, and other communities like Abbott and Vandalia. I'd put money on almost all these towns. They're not on a hilltop. Most of these towns are Rocky Ford. That's a reference to the Rocky Ford of a river. Here's McHughtown. You see this political boundary between two counties? I don't know if it's a ridge or a creek. Maybe it's just random, but it probably it follows one or the other. But again, most of these towns are in low spots. That's the danger. All right, I didn't mean to go off on a rant there, but that's a big danger there. We have several tornado warnings here west of and near I-81. We still have a severe thunderstorm threat ramping up into Montgomery County, Maryland, and Loudoun County, Virginia. This is the Potomac River here, and severe thunderstorm warning. Very populated. Montgomery County, Maryland, western side near Germantown, west of Rockville, Loudoun County, Virginia, Leesville. You got trouble with severe wind, damaging wind moving on in. The Sterling, Virginia radar site's going to give us a set of eyes on these tornado threats, and you can see the most obvious tornado risk here is in northern Virginia. Barely in Virginia real estate. This is Rockingham County. It's going to be north of 64 by a good margin, but west of 81. And there it is. Again, an area of rotation there. Look out there in Tunis and Rockingham. Also a second zone of rotation here that I don't want to neglect. Near Folks Run and Tunis. 2 zones of rotation there. And strong outbound signature. And addition by subtraction would imply, here we have an area of rotation crossing the ridge, going over the mountain, eastern Hardy County into Shenandoah County of Virginia, including part of I-81 near Toms Brook in just a little bit. Stay with us here on the network. All right, good news for our friends on YouTube. The tornado warnings in southern Kentucky have been allowed to expire. Don't know if we've had any confirmed touchdowns. Yes, we have. I mean, this is not a surprise. We sort of confirmed this through the velocity data coupled with the, through the correlation coefficient. Tornado in Rowletts, Kentucky at 4:56 Central Time. This is near Horse Cave in Hart County. Trees onto a home. No injuries reported from the damage. That's good. And then another tornado report, what was that, 1 minute later. Tornado hit the Hart County Animal Shelter. That's bad news. We hope that the animals are okay, and especially the people there at the Hart County Animal Shelter are okay in Hart County, Kentucky. Here is the tornado report earlier in Youngstown, confirmed by Mahoning County EMA. WKBN broadcasting video of the tornado for a time. We confirmed the tornado. We called this 10 or 11 minutes before the official touchdown occurred there, and maybe 8 minutes before the warning was issued at Cape May Point, and it was because a waterspout was moving in, and a webcam at Cape May Point captured the waterspout as it moved on in. That's pretty cool. You don't want to get hit with one of these, but that's a bucket list item for some if you're really into the weather, but you don't want to get hit by a waterspout. That becomes a tornado. All right. Flash flooding is developing in southern parts of Massachusetts, Plymouth County down to Bristol County, Buzzards Bay, facing a flash flood risk. I want to see if I'm missing anything. All right. Let's see. We're about to close this out in 2 minutes here, and I want to get back to the chat. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being with us here on the AccuWeather Network. We will be closing our coverage here of the YouTube live simulcast in a few minutes. The severe risk does continue, though, so make sure you have the AccuWeather app on and alerts enabled. There have been confirmed tornadoes today in southern Kentucky. The Hart County Animal Hospital hit by a tornado in the report there in Hart County, Kentucky earlier. We are aware that the east side of Youngstown had a tornado touchdown documented by WKBN TV and also seen by emergency management. We have had also tornadoes confirmed we talked about the Cape May one, as that came in as a waterspout. And then also in North Jersey, 2 tornadoes reported. One along Interstate 80 here, near the area of the Highway 206, Route 206 interchange, and another one in Troy Hills in Morris County. All right, so here's what we want you to know. Make sure you have AccuWeather alerts enabled so you know when a warning is issued for you. We are concerned about a few areas. The most significant concern right now remains the area of western Pennsylvania, and we're concerned about the area of far western Butler County, a tornado moving from eastern Lawrence into western Butler County. We're also concerned about wind and an isolated tornado up into Jefferson County, Kentucky, near and north of Brookville and I-80. Western Carroll County tornado threat. And then we have 2 cells, both warranting tornado warnings here into Virginia. One of these has moved into Shenandoah County of Virginia. And then also a slightly stronger risk of a tornado into an area near Rockingham County, Virginia, west of I-81 in the mountains of Virginia. Flash flood emergency, Buckhannon and points south through Upshur County and eastern Lewis County. Thank you so much for joining us. Download the AccuWeather app for the latest.